Right, come on, you four-eyed fat-faced fool. Tell us what's going to be in the new podcast from the two mics.
Well, plenty of buffoonery from you and lots of sense from me. What else?
Look at the light. Night and morning, I drink Bunnings and Bokar. I think the problem there is, mate, you just haven't got it. Some of us have and some of us haven't.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He's Mike Parry. It's time to say a very, very, very good morning to Mr. Michael Parry, who just about got his headphones on in time. Very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Mike. I have had my headphones on for the last 3 minutes. I do resent your constant attempts to try and belittle me in front of the audience.
Not at all.
But I will shut your big fat mouth.
It's going to be one of those nights,
in the penultimate quarter of this show, or
yes,
the penultimate section of the show, when we do the quiz, because it is a subject in which I think I can confidently claim to be an expert.
Yes.
I lived through the Times, I studied the Times,
yeah.
I was at the top of my profession, witnessing history during those times.
Must seem a long way off now.
And no, it's not a long way off at all. It's it's within my lifetime, and everything in my lifetime.
No, I meant the fact that you were at the top of your profession.
Is etched on my no. I'm still at the top of one or two professions.
Yes,
believe
no,
me.
I'm sure you
believe
are.
Me.
Now, very timely as well, given this was the first debate between Messrs Cameron and Miliband, which I didn't watch, I have to say.
No, I didn't either.
I was just catching up with some of it now. They're wearing an awful lot of makeup, I have to say.
Were they?
Yeah, they were, and so was Kay Burley as well.
Yeah, Kay Burley, she... what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know whether you should say what you're about to say. I don't know what you're about to say.
I think she brings a little bit of irreverence to
I think she does,
the political scene. I think it sometimes politics can be boringly intense and all that kind of stuff, and I think she lightens it a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Now, let's kick off with England against Lithuania.
Well, isn't it mad? Isn't it mad that Harry Kane's not going to start?
Well, I mean, I was
utterly
just
madness.
Just on Twitter, somebody was saying, "Oh, well, Danny Welbeck and Wayne Rooney have played all the other games. Why shouldn't he stick with that?" Well, why doesn't he put all three of them on? You know, it's Lithuania.
Exactly.
They haven't scored for 3 games, for heaven's sake.
Danny Welbeck does not need to be, an immediate starter for the England team.
Yeah, but even if he was,
impressive.
Why not have all 3 of them, though?
Well, you can have all 3, Mike, but they'd have to change his system then, wouldn't he? And
but that's what he doesn't like to do.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't got any idea how good Lithuania are, but they're not very good.
Well, I can tell you they haven't scored a goal in the last 3 games.
Exactly, so they're not very good at all.
Yeah.
Do you know what we're going to get here? This daft situation's going to be that, for some unknown reason, the manager of the national team seems reluctant to play the man who is clearly the best footballer in the country at the time.
And the top goal scorer.
And the top goal scorer. And that will be exhibited very shortly when the honours come out.
Yeah.
There's 2 honours. There's the Players' Player of the Year, and that's awarded by the footballers themselves.
Right.
And then there's the one that I vote for as an esteemed member of the Football Writers Association.
Why do you vote for it?
Because I'm a member of the Football Writers Association.
Why?
I've been
You're not
for 20
a football
years.
writer.
I'm sorry, mate, but I mean,
you're certainly an esteemed broadcaster, but how are you a football writer?
Well, I used to be, didn't I? You see, when we were in the Fleet Street business.
You never wrote football.
No, of course I didn't.
No, you didn't.
I know.
You've never written football.
No, but Mike, I was so good on the subject that even though I wasn't an actual
you weren't a football writer.
writer,
it's called the Football Writers Association.
Doesn't matter, mate.
You might as well join the Iron Ore Experts Association. You're not one of them either.
Yeah, but I know a lot about it, and I could. And I became a member of the Football Writers Association when I became...
when you bought a table, probably.
Not at all. When I became head honcho here at TalkSport.
Really?
And as we're called TalkSport, and I was the head honcho.
They just gave you a freebie, in other words.
Didn't give me a freebie at all.
Freebie membership. Do you pay a subscription to be a member of it?
Of course.
Yeah.
And
how much is it?
I'm not telling you that.
You don't know, do you?
Of course
Because you don't pay a subscription.
Of course I pay a subscription, but it's by direct debit, isn't
it?
So,
I don't
so
it's a bit like the lost 12,000, just somewhere off there in the ether.
No. Oh, by the way, that's something else that's happened. I used to have an optician.
Did you?
And I went there the other day because I thought it's a while now since I've been back.
Yes.
And
time to get another sort of test done.
Yeah, get my test and get new glasses and all that. It's not there.
Really?
You know that in Victoria...
You just couldn't see it.
No. Ha, it's a little joke, that. In Victoria, in London, they're redeveloping huge swathes
It's a building site over there, isn't it?
It's amazing. I mean, several blocks have been knocked down and being rebuilt.
Yeah.
One of the blocks they knocked down used to be where my optician was.
Oh, dear.
And it's not there.
Oh, right. So could you ask anyone where it's gone?
Well, I don't even know if they exist anymore. I think they would have been taken over by somebody else. But that means, because you know that opticians can sometimes detect things in your body which other doctors can't see.
Really?
So it could mean that somewhere there's a filing cabinet with
you mean your records?
Yeah, with my optical records in it. I could be dying of some dreadful disease.
You could be.
And I don't even know about it because my records have been seized by some guy who walked in and said, take that filing cabinet out.
I don't know that anybody
keeps
keeps
this
records.
building down.
Because all they're interested really in is your most recent one, aren't they? And then when next time you go for your next eye test, then the eye test detects whether you've got anything, cataract-like or any problems like that.
No.
Nobody's told me they're holding my records.
No, you don't understand the principle. It's like having an MOT test year after year after year, and the problems suddenly develop, and it's called the trend.
I see.
And if the trend on your retina or something like that is going the wrong way, you could be facing problems.
Right.
So,
but, I mean, if you go, whenever I get a test and they will say everything's fine, which always amazes me, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing for them to keep then, is there?
Well, it's something I've got to investigate. Getting back to England-Lithuania, I mean, Harry Kane is going to be voted Footballer of the Year, and he's going to be voted the Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year.
Yeah.
And he's not going to lead England tomorrow. What is this madness?
I know.
Do you think it is because Roy Hodgson got caught out writing the names down on a bit of paper?
It's funny you say that.
And all of a sudden, do you remember Nick Faldo got caught out writing down his pairings when he was captain of the right way?
Yeah.
And he made a pathetic joke and said, oh, no, I was just writing down who was getting the sandwiches, who's having the tuna, who's having the ham.
Right.
It's embarrassing when you get caught out like that. It's embarrassing.
And Hodgson did the same, didn't he? He said, I've got lots of bits of paper and they've got lots of different formations on them.
It's like when cabinet ministers get out of a car outside Downing Street and they've got a top-secret document in their hands. These people are fools.
I know.
They don't realise the vigilance of people like you and I
know.
Members of the media.
With very long lenses.
And so when they get caught out, they think they feel foolish, so they've got to do something different.
I think you're spot on, actually. I think that's exactly...
I'm spot on. Old MG has acknowledged that I get everything right.
No, on this particular occasion, let's not get carried away. I think you're absolutely right. I think Roy Hodgson is a stubborn man. He may be a very pleasant guy. Lots of people say he's a nice bloke. You may have met him. I haven't. He's said to be a very fine man, knows what he's doing. But I think you're right. I think he's stubborn. I think he doesn't like being told what to do.
Yeah.
And I think he's done exactly what say, Nick Faldo would have done and just come up with an excuse and said, no, we're not going to do that now.
Exactly. And do you know what? I think it's so poor because if we get into the second half of this game, we still haven't scored, and then he decides he's got to bring Kane on, well, one of two things could happen. Kane could score a hat-trick, in which case Hodgson will be lambasted and say, well, why didn't you start him? And then we'd have been 3-0 at half-time. Right. Or he could come on and say, well, I asked Harry if he could save the game. It was 0-0. I brought him on. And then if Harry Kane doesn't score, then Harry Kane has not fulfilled the job I gave him.
You sound like Dumbledore.
To win the game.
Yeah, I know. But the trouble is that there is no spark at all with England. Watching them is going to be the same old drab business of the first half hour.
Won't it?
It'll be 0-0. The crowd will be very, very full of themselves to start off with. But in the end, they'll just kind of get falling asleep time.
At least we know the Rooney's playing up front, so there'll be a bit of action there, and he'll be going for the record of 49 goals held by Bobby Charlton. Lithuania, by the way, is right next door to Latvia.
Is it?
Yeah, and I went to Latvia once, but I wasn't sure if I was in Latvia or Lithuania.
Why not?
It's the first time I'd been to the Baltic states. I wasn't sure.
Well, you presumably went on a plane, didn't you?
Yeah, I did on a plane, but
Or did you not land in the capital of Latvia?
We landed in Riga, but I wasn't sure if Riga was in Latvia or Lithuania.
Right. I can give you some facts about Lithuania if you like.
Well, I don't want to.
Do you know what their national sport is?
National sport is, it's something to do with ice.
No, it's basketball.
Oh, basketball.
It's
okay.
nothing to do with ice.
Okay, well, perhaps they play basketball on ice. No, I thought it was ice skating and all that kind of stuff.
Do you know what their national anthem is?
It's the same.
It's really imaginative.
It's the same as Poland's, isn't it?
No, it's not. No,
is it?
It's called 3 million. Guess why?
There's 3 million people.
Exactly.
That's pretty good, yeah. But this is what I'm saying, they're small countries. Now then, when I was in Latvia, which is right next door to Lithuania, and they're very, very similar, and the Germans have moved in and rebuilt Latvia, right? But when I was there, what happened was I nearly got arrested for beating up a prostitute.
What?
But I didn't. What happened was I came out of my hotel, and I've told Mr. Brazil this story, and he always mocks me about it.
Yeah.
And as I was walking down this very, very wide pavement, because the Germans have rebuilt the whole of Riga, very wide sidewalks and that kind of boulevards, that kind of stuff. And this lady prostitute on a bike, push bike.
On a bike?
On a push bike.
It's unusual.
She was following me.
Yeah.
And she was circling...
That's how fast you were walking?
Yeah, she was circling around me on her bike.
Right.
You know, she kept, and trying to tempt me with her wares, so to speak. You know what I mean? No, she was. She was.
It wasn't a unicycle?
No. It was such a wide street and everything. Right. She was like, no. Anyway, I said, look, it's very kind of you. I said, I'm sorry. No, I'm busy. I've got to meet. No, thank you. No, I can't see you later. No, I won't be back at the hotel and all this. Anyway, she got so engrossed with talking to me, found me so captivating, we came to the pavement, and the pavement was 9 inches high. It was a very, very tall pavement. Right. She didn't see it. She came off the bike front wheel, went onto the road. Yeah. She went over the handlebars of the bike, smashed her face on the road, the poor girl. Of course, in my concern, leaning over and trying to help her, cop car arrives. Right. They assume that I've beaten this prostitute up. Because, I didn't want to pay her or something. I know, it was shocking. Yeah.
So how did you wheeze yourself out of that one, then?
I didn't speak Latvian, obviously. No. And I said, well, I sort of flashed an FA card because I was with the Football Association at the time. We had a
Were
team
you on your way to spill some secrets to the local press?
Probably. I was probably going to meet them or something like that and brief them. Briefing, give them a briefing. Yeah. But anyway,
that could have been a nightmare. You could still be in jail now.
Well, I could be. I could still be in jail. Fortunately, some cop who was, a bit brighter than the other cops turned up, and I explained. I said, look, nothing to do with me, mate. Anyway, apparently she was quite well known to the cops when they found it. When they looked at her face and got all the blood away and all that, they knew who she was.
Shocking.
But it's a shocking situation.
Absolutely awful. Well, there you go. There's a story about Latvia, who are not playing England tonight, but because it involves Porky, he thought he'd tell it anyway.
But it's next door to Lithuania. It begins with L and the same sort of people. It's just a gerrymandered country.
This is Talk Sport.
On DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The pressure's on now.
Relieve the itch. Talk Sport.
Now, this is a band called Ash, a song called Petrol.
Right,
which I understand you've requested.
Now, I have, because I want to know why when I walked in tonight and we were out there and I detected... Now, I've got a very, very sensitive nose for fuel.
Have you?
Petrol and diesel fuel.
Why particularly fuel?
Well, because if you remember, when I was a teenager, I spent 4 years...
when you were gerrymandering the fuel supplies of the Northwest.
Exactly. And Stanlow Oil Refinery, the drives used to come and drop their stolen petrol off in the tanks below the Abbotswell...
So, some people have been on Twitter since then saying that I should calm you down on telling stories like that in case you get yourself into trouble.
Why?
Because they appreciate your candour. But the fact is you're kind of admitting to being part of some kind of larcenous
No, I wasn't.
enterprise.
No, I didn't know what was going on. These guys
it doesn't matter, you still took part in it.
Well, I didn't know it was stolen. These guys turn up in the middle of the night with a tanker full of 40,000 gallons and say, right, this has been ordered, mate. And all they do is they come in and get the keys, they lift the lids on the underground tanks and they start pumping it in. I didn't know it was Nick Petrol.
Well, don't you have to ask for some kind of receipt or something like that?
Well, it's all you sign things, all that kind of stuff, but, how would I know that...
Do you think they delivered it when you were there because they knew that you were a bit gullible and you would have no idea what was going on?
I think it could have been that.
And you were a patsy.
Well, in the middle of the night, of course, there's fewer people around to see what's going on. Yeah. But anyway, the point of my story is that in those days I had to wear an official blue coat, like, what do you call it, an overall?
Well, like dungarees or something?
No, not dungarees, but I mean an official blue coat with a Shell badge on it and all this kind of stuff.
I remember the Esso ones, actually.
Yeah, that's right, there's a Shell badge on it. And the reason was because in those days... cars didn't have what's called a blowback filter, and when you put the petrol in, the minute it was full, it just came out all over you, and you had to be very, very careful, and obviously, you can't, people used to stand there smoking cigarettes, filling their cars up, all sorts of things, unbelievable.
You still see people now on the phone sometimes.
Yeah,
that's right. Which is meant to be dangerous.
Well, that could spark it.
I've never heard of it actually happening, but you are supposed to switch your phone off.
I think I have heard of it happening. Yeah. But anyway, I didn't know it could still happen, but then when I questioned you, apparently you're filling up the old Range Rover, or
no, it's a Mercedes.
Oh, the old wreck,
yeah, the wreck,
and
as you call it.
And it spits back out of the fuel tank all over you.
It was actually my mistake. In fact, it wasn't the fault of the car. What was happening was
you're not bright enough to put petrol in your put diesel in your car.
It wasn't so much that, but my mind was racing. I was thinking about a million different things. I was on my way into work. I was thinking about other things. Perhaps I wasn't concentrating.
How you're going to cheat in the quiz tonight?
I parked a little bit.
Some cheating questions. You've got a few cheating questions.
The questions have been put together by, as ever, the independent quizmasters.
Headed by you, yeah.
Not headed by me. I got my hands on them this afternoon, and I actually think they're quite easy, to be honest.
Okay.
So I wasn't too worried about the quiz, except for the fact that I thought it might be a bit easy. But no, I was just thinking about all sorts of things, what we were going to do on the show, how I was going to deal with the whole England issue. And I parked a little bit close to the petrol
to the
pumps, right?
Yeah.
Which meant that as I was standing towards the putting the nozzle into the left-hand side of the car, I couldn't actually see the gauge. So I was kind of slightly straining to get my head round so I could see how much, because I didn't want to fill the car up.
Right.
I just want to put about 30 quid's worth in, right? And anyway, suddenly...
Well, that nearly does fill it up these days.
No, it doesn't. No, not my car.
My car's 60 quid now to fill up.
Really? Well, you've got a small car. I mean, I've got a massive engine and massive, petrol tank in this thing. It costs about 70 quid. It used to cost 100.
Yeah, it used to cost 100 in mine. Yeah, anyway, go on.
Anyway, so...
Actually, I've got a bigger engine than you. My engine is 2.2 litres.
Well, mine's 2.7.
Well,
so good night, Vienna.
Yeah, but yours is a wreck.
Well, it may be, but it's not bigger. It's not a smaller engine. Anyway, so as I stick it in, and occasionally there are some nozzles which are a bit thinner than others.
Yes,
it didn't go all the way in, but literally within a second, it wasn't that it just burbled back. It just shot back. This whole kind of stream of diesel.
Something really stupid.
Shot all the way back. It went all over my trousers and my left foot.
Diesel petrol pumps have a much thinner nozzle than petrol pumps, right?
No, but hardly at all.
No, they do. Diesel's much thinner, and there's a filter on that kind of stuff. It's almost impossible to get a blowback on fuel these days.
Well, not true, because I just got one.
Yeah, but I don't know anybody else to whom it's happened for the last 10 years.
Well, that may well be.
To me.
Maybe I was just unlucky.
I'm very skilled at putting petrol in cars for the obvious reasons
that's
I've just told you
about. That's one of the jobs you probably did very well at.
I did,
because it's the sort of job you should have stayed doing.
No.
Because you could have been an expert in it, and a genuine expert.
Well, you know the famous story, because we're going to talk about Hillary Clinton later, because she's going for the presidency of the United States of America.
I don't think she's going to get it.
Well, I'm not even sure she'll get the nomination now. No. But she and Bill are motoring across the United States of America, and they stopped for some gas.
I bet that's a bundle of laughs. Can you imagine?
I bet it was. Yeah,
I bet Bill's trying to sneak out all the time.
Yeah, of course he is. Find a woman to have sex with, because that's what he did all the time. Well, he did on a regular basis, didn't he?
Would you describe him as a sex maniac?
Yeah, sex maniac.
You described me as one of those last time.
I did. Yeah,
I've forgiven you for that.
But she knew that was going on all the time. And I've read a detailed book about it. It was true. And anyway, when they stopped and the guy's pumping the gas into the car, Bill says, Hillary, if I hadn't come around and changed your life, you could have been married to a guy like him. And
that's the sort of thing you would say to someone.
Yeah, maybe. And Hillary said, no, Bill. If I was married to a guy like him, he would have been the president of the United States of America,
answer.
And you would have been a bum.
That's a great answer, actually, because she's probably right.
Yeah.
She's by far the cleverer of the two people, and she's got a law degree from Chicago, I think, and she's got then some other kind of.
No, she's got a law degree from Yale.
Well, she went to Yale after she went to Chicago.
That's right.
To get some other qualification.
Yeah, that's
but
right.
no, anyway, and worse than that.
So
right?
what did you do then?
Well, I couldn't really do anything.
You got your trousers soaked in diesel.
I mean, they weren't soaked. They were just kind of. I mean, a lot of it went all over the forecourt as well. I don't know what you're supposed to do about that.
What about going all over the car? And,
well, it's dripping down the side of the car
as well. It will now be eating into the petrol in your car. I hope you washed the car of it.
No, I didn't, no.
Oh, well, you see, you've got real problems.
No.
To start off with, you'll have very, very irritable skin in the morning. Could be the onset of skin cancer.
Why will I have irritable skin?
Oh,
it didn't go anywhere near my skin.
It did. It went on your trousers. It soaked into your. Soaked into your skin.
It's in my trousers.
You know what the Red Indians or the Native Americans used to do when they used to whip people just to make it.
They used to put petrol on their skin.
Used to throw petrol on their backs after they'd whipped them.
You sure they had petrol?
Yeah, the Cherokee.
Where did they get the petrol from?
Well, it was in the early days of petrol exploration. But the Cherokee.
Well,
were
they'd already
people.
been drilling for fossil fuel for many years.
No. They had like firewater, as they called it.
Whiskey.
Whiskey, a bit of whiskey.
I think it was more like whiskey.
No, they did have petroleum around in those days. And the Cherokee were the worst of the lot. You know what the Cherokee used to do? They're so cruel that they'd hang you up on a sort of, a tree or something like that. Yeah. And they'd light a fire beneath your feet. Yeah. And it would burn, for hours.
Right.
And it was agony. It was an agonising way to torture you.
Yeah.
But then they were so cruel that what they did is, when your feet had been burnt, they then chopped your feet off, and they did.
I don't know why I find this so
funny.
No,
they did, and then they lowered you a little lower on the branch and relit the fire, so it burnt your legs up to your knee. They were horrible, and then all your nerves were exposed, and it was even more painful.
Why don't they just throw petrol on and set fire to
them? Exactly. I mean, that was too quick. That was too quick.
So. Anyway, just to get back to the real world, I then thought to myself, well, I better go and just get myself a coffee and maybe try and clean up. But of course, the petrol station was shut. It was only open at the little night desk, right?
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, right, so I can't get in there and wash and clean my hands.
No.
which I wanted to do.
Haven't you got any wipes in your car?
Actually, I have, but I didn't.
I carry a packet of wipes around all the
I've completely
time.
forgotten that I've got some wipes in the car. Actually,
Well, you see, you can't use them
because I keep
often,
them in the
can you?
passenger door. No, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't really need to use them.
Well, I use them every time I'm in the car. I use the
Yeah,
wipes.
because you're an obsessive, though.
No, I
You're
wipe
sort
the
of
steering
OCD.
wheel to keep it clean and
Why?
that sort of thing. Keep it clean.
Well, because you're a maniac about that.
No.
Anyway, so I go up to the guy and I said,
Yeah.
look, have you got any, have you got any wipes or have you got any kind of, disinfectant or anything like that? I said, I've just spilt a bit of diesel on myself.
No,
And he's
like a half a gallon.
Yeah, and he's like, no, sorry, I can only sell you petrol at the moment. I said, beg your pardon? I said, well, I just want to buy something from the shop, You can go and get it for me. He's like, no, I'm only...
Even a bottle of water.
And he pointed to this sign that said, we are only licensed to sell fuel
See, I don't understand
at this time of night. And I'm like, what, so I can't even buy a packet of cigarettes from you? And he's like,
Or
no.
chewing gum?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Ridiculous.
Wouldn't sell me anything.
Ridiculous.
And I said, what about
What a
coffee?
jerk.
He's like, no, you can't have any of that. So anyway, so I left there, so I thought, well, I better go and, stop in at a McDonald's then and wash my hands there, which is what I did.
Yeah.
And then I thought I'll get a coffee there. And it ended up taking, the whole process of me stopping for petrol, which was only about 20 minutes from the office here, took almost an hour to get from there to here.
So you don't
And,
organise
I
your
now
life
have to
properly.
be
You
careful
really don't
that I don't
organise
set
your
myself
life
on
properly.
fire.
Should never leave it until the minute to the stage when you're going to work to fill your car up with petrol.
Yeah, I know. I
You should
I
do
should
it-
have done it earlier.
You always fill a car up when you are not under pressure and you are retreating
Yeah, but
from a
wh- yeah,
situation,
but
not
when I
when you're
stopped-
advancing on a
Yeah,
situation.
but when I stopped to get petrol, I actually had loads of time because I knew I
you
was
don't
only,
have
I was
time.
only
Anything can go
15.
wrong.
That's true.
For instance, the number of times in my vast experience as a petrol station forecourt attendant,
Right.
somebody
I'm
comes
surprised
in.
you haven't made it a more elevated title. Actually,
Well, that's what it was.
like petrol station forecourt manager or something.
I was probably the youngest ever petrol station forecourt manager in this country, to be
probably,
honest.
yeah. Did you win any awards from Petrol Today or anything?
No, but I mean, I could have done if there'd been a competition because I used to run these things through the night.
Yeah.
When I was 16, 17 years of
Yeah.
age, put myself at risk to mad
Being
gunmen.
held up?
Yeah,
Were you
being
ever held up?
No, I'll tell you what happened once, though. Because I was sort of quite young and that sort of stuff.
But also, petrol stations in those days were just petrol stations.
They
Well,
were-
you didn't sell like a myriad of stuff.
Oh, no, they did. I sold chocolates, cigarettes, all that kind of stuff. They really did. And people bought loads of stupid things for their car, like that stuff you rub in to shine it and polish and all that kind of stuff. But no, one night this drunk came in, right, and it was about...
What, driving?
No. He staggered.
Right.
It was on quite a busy part of town, to be honest. And he came in. He'd come out of a nightclub. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. He came in. And he wanted some cigarettes.
Right.
So I said, yeah, but because he was so intoxicated, he couldn't get his money properly on the counter. He's offered me this and offered that. And another fella came in who was a regular customer of mine, and I'd got to know quite well. His name was Badger, and he was called Badger because he had a black streak in the middle of his blonde hair. You see. And he was a builder, and he was always shooting around at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning, taking supplies around to the next build site.
Somebody
and all
told
that.
you?
No, well, I don't know. But anyway, very
see the
quickly.
time, by the way?
Just very quickly. So he comes in, he sees this poor drunk, and he says, this guy giving you a problem, Mike? And I said, well, he just can't find his money. He said, right. So he grabbed him and went, bang! He knotted him right in the face. I'm not joking. And the drunk went, fell to the floor. But instead of dealing with it, Badger just walked off, got in his van and
left him
drove
there.
off. I had this drunk bleeding to death on the floor
Dear
in the
God.
shop. He didn't really help.
Shocking.
It didn't really help, I'm telling you.
So the owners came back, presumably, and called the police on the basis that you'd assaulted the customer.
No, it was. But this kid was so confused, didn't know who'd headbutted him or
Right.
why.
You're lucky he didn't come back and seek retribution.
The last I saw him was on his hands and knees, disappearing across the forecourt. I don't know where he went.
Shocking. Yet more shocking stories. We've got lots more to talk about. Of course, it's Porky Quiz Night coming up as well. This is Talk Sport.
Take me a shot, but the water don't feel no good. Tell me, what have I done wrong? And nothing go right with me. Must be I've been smoking too long.
I don't know why you're asking for all this musical stuff tonight, because you don't normally do it. I'm smoking too long.
No. It's the last show of the week, so I think we bring a bit of merriment to these serious subjects which
Indeed.
we have to discuss. Now, I want to talk to you.
Well, can I read you a few tweets first before we go
Oh,
on?
yes, please do.
Here's one from
Yes,
Matt.
of
who's
appreciation,
tweeted,
I hope.
Some of them. Matt from At the Two Mics says, so basically Porky fancied himself as a bit of an artful dodger when he was younger with his boyhood of criminal activities.
What criminal activities?
Well, you've admitted to taking part in some larcenous plot plot to defraud the revenue with getting fake diesel pumped in.
I didn't know anything about it.
Well, you still did it, though.
No, I didn't. All I was told was we got delivery of fuel. I only found out later that it had, fallen off the back of a lorry, so to speak.
All right, Ben says this. I have dashboard wipes in the door. It is normal. Also, rhubarb and custard.
Rhubarb and custard?
Why does he have rhubarb and custard?
I don't know. Is that code for something?
I don't know.
Is there a rhubarb and custard flavoured wipe or something like that?
I have no idea. And Derek says, petrol wasn't around during the time of the Trail of Tears, which I think is that story about the Cherokees. And Zoban says, good job, Porky, the Cherokee used the petrol to fill their horses.
Fill their horses, I quite like that. That's funny.
That's quite good, isn't it?
No, you've got to remember that petrol's been around since about 1870. And they did have it because it was first used to, for instance, when the Cherokee...
I'm told it's the Comanches, actually, by those in the research department.
No, it's the Cherokees who are the worst. Oh, well, the Comanches...
but in terms of the hanging
oh, yeah, the Comanches
torches.
weren't very pleasant either.
No.
But what they did is, they got into technology quite early on, and when they had their teepees and they set up all their, their camps, because they're nomadic people.
Teepees.
Teepees. The nomadic people, the native Indians, they were the first people to use...
Native Americans.
What did I say?
Native
Americans. That's right. They were the first people to use gasoline to light and heat the insides of their teepees.
Did they?
Yes.
Really?
Even before the white man was using them.
So did they have like paraffin heaters or something? Is that what you're saying?
No, they used to hang them from the rafters and all that kind of stuff. Bowls full of gasoline and then light them for heat. Yes, for heat and light. They did.
Why didn't they set fire to the teepees, which were made? You've got me saying it now. Teepees, which were made of animal skin.
Yes, they were made of skins. Well, they didn't burn them.
You're talking absolute
No,
cobblers.
I'm not. If you light a candle in a tent, it doesn't burn the tent, does it?
No, because a candle's not made of petroleum. A candle's made of wax.
But it has the same ignitive effect, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't.
Yes,
you can't set fire to a candle; it just melts.
Well, yes, I know that, but I mean, if you
have a bowl of petrol hanging from the ceiling in your house, and you set fire to it, trust me, you will set fire to the entire building.
What they used to do is they used to get like waste animal skins, soak them in gasoline, and then light them for heat and light. I don't know why you're laughing.
No wonder they became extinct.
I don't know why you're laughing. Man.
Anyway, listen.
I'm just ahead of you on the knowledge and technology.
Maybe we'll have to give you a quiz on. I think we've already done a quiz on Native Americans.
I think we have. Yeah.
Ian Bennett says this: Porky the Petrol Man. What a visual! Like Alan Partridge and his petrol attendant mate Michael rolled into one.
Oh, really? And what's that guy's name? Bennett. Sounds like Gordon Bennett to me.
Yeah, it does actually, yeah. And then Dennis says, I never realised filling a car's tank was so involved. He says this is great.
It can be. It can be. Do you know what? Do you remember those... now, I've had 4 Jaguars, right?
Yeah.
Love a Jaguar car.
Right.
And in fact, I think
I've had 4 of them. You've still got one, haven't you? The heap that you keep down in Gosport.
It's not a heap.
You keep one that doesn't go anywhere.
No, it's my original Jaguar.
Yeah, well, how old is it?
It's 97.
So that's a heap. That's even older than my Mercedes.
It's in immaculate condition, honestly.
Well, because nobody drives it anywhere.
No,
it just sits there occupying a space.
Yeah, well, that's true. But, no, it looks great.
What is it? One of those ones with the sort of the bent bonnet, the old-fashioned bonnet?
It's an XJ6.
Oh, it's an XJ6?
Yeah.
That's really ancient.
XJ6 Sport, actually. It's got black instead of silver window linings and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, look, the story is, in many years ago, when I was a petrol forecourt manager, these cars used to come in, Jaguars, and they used to have 2 tanks. One on either side. Yeah. So you'd have the boot at the back, as we call it in this country, not the trunk, Yeah. And they had a little flip up which you had to use a key to access on each side. And they used to take like 20 gallons.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Right.
And to fill them up in those days would cost the equivalent today of 200 quid.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
That's because they used so much petrol, you put your foot on the accelerator, wasn't it?
That's right, they did, yeah. You can
anyway, I thought you wanted to talk about smoking.
See the petrol gauge going down. Now, listen, I've got to talk to you about this.
Yeah.
It's a very serious subject.
Okay.
I hope the listeners' ears are pegged back because you really have something to answer.
I hope they're not pegged back, actually.
I'm suggesting that little dog of yours, the one that was driven to madness and ate a sock and then was very ill and all that. Have you considered that dog of yours, and this is quite serious, and I'm going to give you a specific case in a minute, might be developing lung cancer because of your smoking habits?
Why would a dog develop lung cancer because of my smoking? You're saying second-hand smoke?
Yes, I am, yes.
Well,
secondary.
I mean, surely to get secondary smoke or second-hand smoke, you need to sit in an enclosed space.
Yes, that's right.
Well, I don't, first of all, smoke inside a house.
But the dog comes on walks with you.
Yeah,
When the dog
which
comes
is in
on
the
walks,
open air.
you're smoking.
Well, not very often.
Yes, you are.
I mean, I took him on a walk today, for example.
Yeah.
And I think I had one cigarette when we were out for about 45 minutes.
Yeah, but
and
that's
he
enough.
was a very long way away from me.
That's
in
enough.
a field.
No, that's enough.
That's not enough.
No, it is
Absolute
enough.
rubbish.
Listen to this. Listen to this. I'm going to horrify you now.
This is for people who keep their dogs in a house which is full of smoke.
Listen to this. I'm going
Or
to
perhaps in a
horrify you now.
teepee which is burning down due to the gasoline
I'm going
effect.
to horrify you now, and the listeners, our millions of listeners, will be horrified. When her beloved dog collapsed and had to be rushed to the vet, Heather Goddard was horrified. The grandmother was left grief-stricken when tests showed Clover, that's her dog, an 8-year-old crossbreed, had lung cancer and would have to be put down. But the biggest shock came when she was told that her dog's death was caused by passive...
Listen to how you say that with
Excuse me?
such alacrity.
Excuse me?
The
Yeah.
dog's death.
Yeah. Was caused by passive smoking, the result of being in the house. She and her husband, Keith, puffed through 30 cigarettes each a day.
Right. Just read that bit again to yourself, not to me. The house they shared,
Yes.
in which they smoked 30 cigarettes a
that's
day
right.
each.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I've just
yeah.
told you I don't smoke inside the house. Therefore, there is no risk to my dog whatsoever.
Now, Mrs. Goddard, 61, has quit smoking and is alerting other pet owners to the dangers posed to animals by second-hand smoke.
Well,
She and
I'm
Mr.
sure,
Goddard...
I'm sure that's true. In the same way that I would not smoke in front of my children, I wouldn't
Yeah.
smoke in front of the dog either. I wouldn't expect my children
Yeah.
to sit in a room full of smoke.
They come from Seaton Delaval in Northumberland.
Never
Beautiful
mind where they
place.
come from.
Beautiful place.
Never mind where
It's
they
on the
come
coast.
from. You've
It's on
got
the
this
coast.
completely wrong.
My place is near there.
Which
Now,
place?
My place in the northeast.
North East?
Yeah, I've told you. We killed a
No,
forest.
you
My
said it was in the
cottage.
forest.
Yes.
Well,
killed
it's
the
nowhere near
forest.
the coast then,
It's
is it?
pretty close.
Well,
Right.
how far is it from the coast?
Oh, it's a few miles.
A few miles.
Yeah, up and down. But
I'll
anyway...
have to check where the
anyway,
Kilda Forest is now.
they took her to a veterinary practice in Morpeth where they were told she had black spots on her lungs and was also suffering from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me. I don't know why it surprises you, but the idea that you can actually come out and suggest that I am in the same situation when I've just explained to you that I'm not, it tells me that this is all about you trying to show me up as some kind of cruel person.
Well,
I'm at the very, very least.
Yeah, she says, knowing my smoking was to blame was like somebody had just put a bullet into my heart. It was a nightmare that had come true. What are you laughing at?
Why are you doing a voice like that?
Well, because she's a Geordie. It's northeast.
Yeah, I know.
My northeast
But
accent.
why are you doing that?
Clover was a lovely dog.
How old was
she
Clover?
Was eight.
Eight?
Eight
Not
years
very
of
old
age.
then.
She was friendly, and there wasn't a bad bone in her body.
They might as well have given the dog some cigarettes.
There wasn't a
At
bad
least he
bone
could
in
have enjoyed
her.
getting
Wasn't a bad bone in the body, but there was
He
bad
could have
lungs in
enjoyed
her
getting
body.
bad lungs, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
that's unfortunate. Very, very sad story. However,
Yeah.
once again, you will not find anything
Well,
like that in my dog's
but it-
abdomen. You
but
might
it-
find the odd sock.
But it brings back you see, this is another thing. I've always said I can't have a dog because if I had a dog, I'd leave it at home on its own, all that kind of stuff.
Well, no,
But
because also you would become attached to it, and you don't like anything to be close to you because you fear intimacy, as we've often said.
No, but you abandon your dog. Your dog must be very confused. It only sees you
My
one
dog-
day a week.
All right. Well, let me put it to you this way.
Yeah.
When was the last time I saw my dog?
Well, you just said you took it for a walk today.
Yes.
But
And
that's
before that, the last time I saw the dog.
last Sunday.
Monday.
Monday, okay.
Right? So I didn't see
3
him for
days
no,
in between.
I didn't see him.
3 days
I took
in
him
between.
I last took him for a walk around about 5 o'clock on Monday afternoon. Okay?
Yeah, but you see, that's
so
even
I didn't
crueler.
see him. I didn't see him Tuesday. I didn't see him Wednesday.
It's
I
even
turned
crueler.
up yesterday morning at about 8 o'clock. He was delighted to see me. We had a lovely day together, and I will see him Friday. I will see him Saturday. I will see him Sunday. I will see him Monday, and then I will come back.
But then you push off for 2 or 3 days.
For
the dog
2
must be
days.
very confused.
He's not confused.
You know, there's a pub in...
He knows that I'm his master. You know nothing about dogs. You know nothing
I
about
know plenty
relationships
about
with
dogs.
animals.
I
All
know
you do
plenty
is you
about dogs.
pretend to save animals around the world.
I do.
All of which end up getting slaughtered
I do.
because your campaigns don't work.
I do, and I'll tell you later in the show about my latest campaign,
Yeah.
which has paid off to save the hedgehog.
Really?
Yes.
You managed to save one, have you?
Well, I've saved a hedgehog,
Well,
yeah.
You've saved one hedgehog.
These little hedgehogs were getting the top of coffee cups
Yeah.
wrapped around their head,
Oh, yeah.
and they couldn't get it off again because of
Right.
the spikes and all that. So there was a campaign against the manufacturers of these cups
Yeah.
to change the shape of them, and we've won.
Really?
Yeah, going to save the lives of hedgehogs. Yes, we.
Have you seen the time, by the way?
Yeah, but let me just tell you this.
You can't. You haven't got time.
I can. You take too much notice of that clock.
Yeah, well, because
that
everybody
clock bullies
does.
you. I'm not afraid of the clock. You are.
I'm not afraid of the clock. No, I just like to try and keep them to the right times.
There is a pub in Tynemouth High Street in the north east, not very far from here.
Your forest is 60 miles from the coast, by the way.
Bits of it are.
Yeah.
But the dog, the dog in this pub waited on the quayside when its master went out in its ship.
You told me the story.
I know.
He sits there yet, doesn't he?
He sits there yet. The ship never came back.
Amazing.
And locals feed the dog little tidbits and all that. But
Does
the
he
dog
smoke?
No, of course not. Don't be stupid. The dog won't leave its post.
Now, finally, just from Ben, the guy who says rhubarb and custards in his glove box, he says they're boiled sweets.
Oh, I know what you mean, yeah.
There you go. This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes. There
is.
will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Don't forget Porky's quiz. It's tonight, all about politics on the night of the debate. You've given these guys a list of subjects that you want songs for.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And that's why they keep coming up with all this obscure stuff.
Hang on. I just run through what we're talking about with the producer. He makes his mind up about how to illustrate these things.
Yeah.
You know, in the newspaper world, we use illustrations.
Well, tell me, because I have much better ideas.
In the radio world, we have sounds which illustrate what we're talking about.
Thank you very much for that word of expertise.
I've just read this shocking book about...
say something else there for a minute.
About the cuckoo.
All right.
And,
can I just read you some more tweets before
yes,
you do
please do. Yeah, go on.
Now, here's this from World Traveller. He says, that to the Two Mikes. My dog has no legs. I named him Woodbine. I take him out for a drag. That's not very nice, is it?
That's not very nice.
David says, Kilda is at least 50-plus miles from the coast, he says.
Kilda,
and Ian says, Porky sounded like Brian Johnson from AC/DC then when you were doing that Geordie accent.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, well, in that case, I didn't know I could impersonate rock stars so accurately, but I'm happy to take the credit.
Ian says, can I have a pound of petrol from Porky's petrol pipe, please?
What's he on about?
I have no idea. And how about this one from one of our texters who's texted at 81089? Robert, he says, am I the only one thinking that woman in Latvia was trying to escape from Mr. Parry and smashed her face up when she crashed her getaway vehicle?
She was riding down on a bike, honestly. It was the most unusual thing.
Right.
Talking about petrol, by the way, when I was the petrol forecourt manager, you won't believe it, in those days we had 4-star, 3-star and 2-star.
Oh, I remember 2-star.
Right, 2-star, right. So these kids would come in, I say kids, they were a bit older than me, about 18 or 19, they'd just got their first car, a Mini, and do you know what the deal was? 3 gallons of 2-star into the Mini, £1.
Really?
3 gallons for £1.
Probably filled it up as well, didn't it?
Well,
honest to God, you haven't said that for ages.
It used to fill up with 6 gallons a Mini. You'd fill a Mini up for £2.
A lot of people have asked for the return of Porky Bingo, do you know? I think
really?
we might have to do that next week.
Okay.
Because you just said honest to God. Speaking of petrol, by the way, there's Jenson Button driving around the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Indeed. He hasn't got much chance this year, has he?
I don't think he has, no.
He's got no chance, actually.
Well, I suppose so. If you say so, you're an expert in Formula One. We'll have a guest on it later on. But, you know, practice is already underway, so if there's any news from there, we'll bring it to you.
I mean,
now, what's all this nonsense about the cuckoo?
Lewis Hamilton is going to absolutely skim and cream the Formula One situation
this
season.
He's just signed a new deal as well, hasn't he?
Well, he's about to. He's about to. But he's going to absolutely take it by storm, which means he will then become a 3-time winner of the Formula One World Championship and join the greats.
Yes.
Who is the other Great Britain who's got 3?
Is it Jackie Stewart?
Jackie Stewart, indeed.
Yeah.
How many did Graham...
Graham Hill, I think,
Graham
had
2.
2, didn't he?
But he won the Monaco Grand Prix 5 times.
Yeah.
They loved him for that. They really did.
Nigel Mansell not have 2 as
Mansell
well?
had 1.
Just 1.
Mansell had 1. And do you know what? In the season he won it, he won the first 5 races of the season and just shot away with the title. So he was a 1-time winner of Brit.
James Hunt
Was a 1-time winner, but James Hunt's lifestyle...
Jim Clark was 1-time winner, I think.
Jim Clark won it once or twice. Maybe he won it once and then killed himself, didn't he? That's absolutely right.
He
died, I think, in Nuremberg or the Nürburgring or something like that. No, you're absolutely right. The James Hunt one, how James Hunt ever got into a car and steered in a straight line is just
if they'd had breathalyzers, I don't think you'd have been passed.
It's totally true. And even before he won it, and I think he won it in Japan, he spent a week... literally having mass sexual relationships. No, he did. With a bevy of airline hostesses.
Well, why not?
Who were staying at the same hotel as him, a 4-star hotel, who were flying in and out of Tokyo.
Is that the same as full sex, by the way?
It's the same sort of thing.
Mass sexual what?
Yeah, mass sexual relationships, yeah. He was. And
do you think any of them became sex victims?
Well,
like you described last night?
I don't know, but what I'm saying is he didn't do much training. You know, he wasn't on the track much.
That keeps you pretty fit, I can tell you.
But he did it with his pal Barry Sheene.
Yeah.
Because Barry Sheene was the world motorcycling champion at the time.
Yeah.
And
did he not break almost every bone in his body?
Barry Sheene, in one of his last races, he came round a bend at somewhere like Oulton Park or something like that, and there was already a bike down on the tarmac. He had no way of avoiding it.
Yeah.
He went into it, and he smashed one of his legs so badly that the doctor who first examined the hospital said there's no way of saving this leg. It's like his bones have been reduced to eggshells. We can't do anything about it.
So he just had a great pin put in, didn't he?
Well, what happened was some other expert came in and eventually said, we're going to try to save his leg. And he had something like about 16 bolts put in the leg and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And the reason eventually Barry Sheen emigrated to Australia was because he had so many fractured bones in his body that arthritis used to hit him when it was just, a normal,
a bit chilly,
normal summer temperature in this
damp,
country.
yeah.
So he literally went to Australia because he couldn't live with the pain of arthritis in this country.
Yeah.
He took his girlfriend with him, a beautiful girl whose mother used to work with my mother in Browns of Chester.
Browns of Chester being what?
A store, like
like a department store?
Like a department store, like Harrods or something like that. Yes, one of the top ones.
How much like Harrods was it?
Oh, very much like Harrods.
Really?
It's one of the top ones in the Northwest. Oh, absolutely certain. Absolutely certain. And in fact, I used to play for their football team, Browns of Chester. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Browns, you used to play for their football team?
Yes, that's
Were
right.
you also the midfield dynamo for them?
I was, yeah, midfield general.
And can we find any records of any of this?
Well, we started in a league which was 7 leagues down, and within 6 years we were top of the top league.
Really?
We were that good. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what sort of teams were in the top league?
Oh, good teams, but we were better.
Really?
But anyway,
Have you got any cups or anything to show us?
We've got a few old
championship medals,
newspaper pictures.
Really?
Newspaper pictures.
Well, we'd like to see some of those.
Well, maybe.
Some team pictures, maybe.
I don't like to boast about my achievements.
No,
but anyway, we
of
were
course not.
talking about the Grand Prix and all that. And,
Grand Prix?
the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
I know without a shadow of a doubt Lewis Hamilton's going to win it.
Yeah.
I think he'll win
the Grand
first
Prix
one.
or just the whole thing?
Well, he won the whole thing, but I think because I think last year he won 8 or 9, didn't he? Which was a record.
He did.
And
well, he's got the best car. That's the problem.
Yeah, but that's great because if he's got
Do you
the
remember
best.
that time, by the way, you say nobody's ever had a problem putting petrol into a car.
Yes.
Remember the time they had that terrible explosion in the pits?
Because
I
they
think it was
forgot to take the
a couple of years
petrol,
ago
pump
because
off.
the pump was still going.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Because it goes so quickly.
Yes.
The whole thing was engulfed in a fireball.
That's right. It's
amazing.
It was a shocking thing, but of course the safety procedures these days are so
You
sophisticated
know what we
compared
should
to what
do?
they used to be.
Should we not do, at some point, you
What?
and I, have a race around Brands Hatch? I know that Top Gear's been very much in the news.
Yes.
Should we not go to one of these racetracks and have a race?
What would be the point of that?
Well, because it would be fun, for one thing.
Oh, would
and
it?
I would probably beat you, which would be the other
No,
thing.
you wouldn't. No.
Because you're always bumming about what a great driver you are.
I am a great driver.
Yeah, you probably think that you could drive around one of these racetracks, and I quite like to see you sort of spin off.
No.
Turn a car over, it'd be hilarious.
No. I genuinely believe.
Well, you
that-
wouldn't get hurt because you're very well protected. You wouldn't be in your own car; you'd be in a special car.
Oh yeah, you'd have what they
Why
call
don't we do
a
that when the
crossbelt
weather
and
gets a
all
bit
that.
better?
Well, we'll think about it.
You don't want to, do you?
No, I don't mind
You've got
doing
some
it.
innate fear of racing.
I think I miss my vocation as a racing driver because I can tell. No, I can tell. My instincts tell me that my reactions in a car are brilliant.
Really?
But you see, this is one of the problems of life which no philosopher's been able to solve.
Yeah.
How do you know that you are not a genius guitar player and singer-songwriter?
How do I know?
Yeah.
Because I used to play the violin.
Yeah, but have you ever played the guitar?
No, I could never play the guitar.
Well, there you see. What I'm saying is...
What do you mean?
Well, what I'm saying is...
I was quite a good violin player, but I was not brilliant at it, and I was not a genius, and I couldn't write a song to save my life.
What I'm saying is, supposing, for instance, John Lennon, who had, innate skill as a musician...
Do you know what? Somebody
singer-songwriter-
actually tweeted me, and
Yeah.
I thought this won't be necessary.
Right.
He said, "Can we have a siren for every time Porky's going to
Yeah.
mention John Lennon?"
Why
He
not?
said,
Why
you
not?
have not done a show
Yeah.
since we started without mentioning John Lennon.
Well, I think you have to. I think he's
Well,
the man
every
who changed-
single show?
Well, no, but he's the man who changed the world, so he's very...
No, in your view.
No, he changed the world. He stopped World War III from happening.
Rubbish.
He ended the Vietnam War.
Really?
Oh yeah. He revolutionised the whole of society.
Right.
He liberated youth.
It's amazing the world's still going
Well-
so many years after his death.
Well, I tell you what, I totally agree with you there. The world would be a better place if John Lennon was still alive, because
Well, it might
when
be.
John Lennon decided things needed changing, he changed them.
You see.
I mean, everybody mocked him for baggism and his bed protests
Yeah.
and all that. They massively changed the world.
I thought you were talking about cuckoos in this section.
Yeah, we are talking about cuckoos.
Right.
What I was going
We're
to tell
nearly
you
out
was,
of time.
the cuckoo, right, is the most horrible, nasty bird.
What?
And it reminds me of you.
Have we named the national bird of the country yet? Maybe
No,
it should be a
no,
cuckoo.
no,
What do you mean it reminds you of me?
Well, because it's a nasty, sexist individual.
That sounds more like you then.
No.
Surely.
No, here. Let me tell you.
Benevolent sexist, is it?
Every time of this year, you hear the old call. Now, the Latin word for cuckoo is cuckoo. No, it is. But it's...
Hasn't it at least got an X at the end?
No.
Or something.
No, it's spelled...
Or cuckoo.
No, it's spelled C-U-C-C-U. right? And,
Really?
Yeah, and the famous book...
You sure that's not a Latin number?
No. The famous book written about it was Summa is Ucumen in Lude Singer Cuckoo. And that means the first cuckoo of spring. What are you laughing at?
Because it's so improbable.
No, it's not. It's not. And the cuckoo's mentioned in all the great literatures, Chaucer, Shakespeare, Wordsworth, you name it, they all mention cuckoo. But in fact, it is a horrible predator.
Right.
Do you know the cuckoo goes around laying its eggs in other birds' nests?
Does it? That's not unusual, is it, for birds, though?
So that the other birds have to bring the little ones up, because the cuckoo can't be bothered.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and what the cuckoo
Well,
does
why don't
is...
the other birds just kick the eggs out of the nest?
You won't believe this, but do you know what nature does?
What?
The cuckoo is able to lay eggs which absolutely replicate the shape and the colour of the other birds.
What, of any other bird?
Of any other bird.
Blimey.
Any other bird it chooses.
I'd like to see it. Look, I'd like to see it do that with an ostrich egg.
Well, ostrich is too big. Don't be silly. But what I'm saying
would be
is,
clever.
if the cuckoo decides, right, I'm going to lay my eggs in that blackbird nest, it flies over first on a recce, spots what colour the eggs are, and then, amazingly, through its own brain and everything, it can then lay eggs which replicate exactly the colour of the eggs.
And why does it not so? But surely, when the eggs hatch, the other birds then realise that it's not their own eggs.
You won't believe this.
No, I won't.
The cuckoo, from the moment of its inception as a bird that's living, is the nastiest, horriblest bully.
Well, you keep saying that.
When it cracks out of its shell in the foreign nest that it's in, it kills all the other little birds. It kicks them out the nest.
Really?
Yeah. You will often see...
Well, how does it get fed then?
Well, then its mother comes back and feeds it.
Really?
But you will often see below the nest of where a predatory cuckoo has dropped its eggs. You'll see, unfortunately, the dead bodies of all the other little birds, which the cuckoo has beaten up, bullied, and kicked out the nest. It's true.
Oh dear.
I know you think it sounds improbable.
I've never heard any of this before.
No, but I've studied it. That's why. Why I've studied it.
Now I've looked up the Latin for cuckoo, and it's cuculus. It's not cuckoo.
Yeah, but it's always shortened to cuckoo.
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 Is it?
Yeah.
Here's one from Andy, who's tweeted out the two mics. A life of eating manky socks and fags is still a better life than having to put up with Parry the Oaf.
Oh,
that's
really?
on the basis of my dog.
Well, that's all right. I'll take all these insults. I don't mind because remember, I take them as compliments. When you're having a go at me and trying to make out that I'm some sort of dunderhead, I take that as a compliment because you simply can't understand my intellect.
That's true. Geordie Jeff says Porky's attempts at a Geordie accent sounding more like a cross between the Welsh Valleys and Calcutta, and Kielder Forest is nowhere near the coast, but has a brilliant observatory to see the stars.
Exactly.
So you can have a look at the stars.
It's near the dam. There's a dam called the Kielder Dam.
Really?
Which happens to be in the Kielder Forest.
Paul the cabbie in Brighton says, hey, Mikes, have you seen on the news today that dogs are now being treated with Prozac issued by vets for depression being caused by feeling isolated when their owners leave them alone?
I did know that. Yeah. See? I told
I
you.
don't leave the dog alone. He's got plenty of people to play with. Don't worry about that.
First to hear it here.
He is Mike Porky Parry. I am Mike Graham. It's time to look into the light. Coming up in the next hour, it's time for the Porky Quiz, of course, a very, very broad subject of which he's an expert, the British politics from 1975 to the present day. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes.
Talk Sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the two Mikes on Extra Time. We're keeping you entertained throughout the night. Coming up in this hour, we've got the Porky Quiz on British politics from 1975 to the present day. As Mr Parry said, he lived through it, he's an expert in it, he's expected to do very well. I'm predicting 3 out of 10. 08717.
You would, of course.
Well, because I don't think you'll do as well as you think.
No, and you because you predicted 3 out of 10, I'd like to warn the audience that probably will be the outcome, because, as I've said, you artificially... reconstruct.
Gerrymander.
No, well, I'm not using that word anymore because people are now pulling me up on that.
Yeah.
You're artificially reconstructing.
We've seen the time.
The answers.
Yeah. 08717 22 33 44. You're listening to Extra Time with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. You can tweet us at the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out, of course, a little bit later on this morning. Had a lot of great tweets and reactions to the podcast yesterday, but also to some of the clips that we put out there on Two Mikes TV on YouTube, because we are on the brink, I think, of a couple of announcements of some more live shows coming up, which we hope to be able to do in the next few days, basically, don't we?
Yeah, honestly, we wish we could tell you exactly where we're going and what we're going to do.
It's complicated, though, isn't it?
It's a little complicated because we have to get into negotiations with all sorts of people and theories. theatres and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I'm heading for the South Coast as we finish the show tonight to hopefully sign a contract for a gig down there.
Right, brilliant.
We are definitely going to appear in London again at a bigger venue. We love the Hen and Chickens.
Yeah.
But
Our spiritual home.
Spiritual home indeed, but we're going to a bigger one. And we are, hopefully, by Monday, can announce one in the north of England.
Exactly right.
And again, that'll be a big theatre, 450 people, I hope.
Brilliant. Excellent stuff. Now, I mentioned to you that maybe we should have some kind of car race, but we could also have a bunch of other little competitions throughout the course of the year, which I think people might like. And you would love it because you're a very competitive sort of character. Now, have you ever played poker in your life? Have you ever played cards? I used to play poker a lot when I lived in New York, but I think it was after you went back. I think.
Right, OK. Well, my favourite card game is either three-card brag.
Yeah, I like three-card
which
brag.
I love that.
I played that when I first went to FE college, when I left school after my O-levels to go and do my A-levels, because they wouldn't let me do the A-levels I wanted to do at school.
Right.
Because they had this very strict kind of, Catholic school idea. And believe it or not, they had me down for chemistry, physics and geography or something. And I said, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do English, I want to do geography, and I want to do history.
Right.
Those are three things I want to do. And they said, well, you can't do them.
All failed in the end because, of course, you copped out of your university course.
No, but I got all right. I did all right.
Wasting a lot of taxpayers' money.
I did all right on my A-levels, but then, I did. You're right. I did a couple of years at university and then I left because I wanted to go and become, like yourself, the seeker of truth and justice in the internationally
And where were you playing
famous
this poker?
The three-card brag I used to play at FE College. That was when I discovered it.
Right.
And I used to love that game.
Yeah.
But poker I used to play more in New York with Mike McGovern and a bunch of them. Ivy Key used to play. We used to get together once a month and play. And,
did you win or lose?
Yeah, I used to win quite a lot. I mean, the trouble was, like a lot of these things, it depended on how much was imbibed alcoholically. Because the more drunk you got, the more likely you were to waste money.
Yeah, and throw the car keys on the table and all this kind of stuff.
Hey, that wasn't that kind of party.
But I don't play cards with my friends because it always leads to bitterness.
You haven't got any friends?
Yes, I have.
Yeah,
it always leads to bitterness.
You were telling me you haven't got any friends.
I have selective friends, okay, but I don't boast about it.
Okay.
The other game I like is 21s, which is...
Pontoon, some people call it.
Yeah.
Do you ever go to casinos?
Blackjack.
Do you ever play in a casino?
Yeah, I do, sometimes. Yeah, I do.
Because it's quite easy to get into casinos here now, isn't it? They've relaxed that 24-hour rule, I think.
Yeah, they have, yeah. Well, down in Gunwharf Keys in Portsmouth.
Yeah.
And
have they got a casino down there?
Yeah, they have, I'll be down there this weekend. And I think it's called the Grosvenor.
Yeah.
And you can literally just join up and go in, as far as I know.
Because it used to be the case. I remember when I was at college, I had a mate who used to go to Southampton University, and he would drive. He was a bit wealthier than me, and he used to drive up to see me.
Yeah.
And we'd go off to Bristol to a place called Tiberius Casino in Bristol, which was very seedy, but quite good fun. But he was a member of the one in Southampton, so he could get me in.
Right.
Otherwise, you had to go in and wait 24 hours.
I don't quite understand it because I was once sent to Dudley for 6 weeks.
Dudley?
When I worked for the Birmingham Evening Mail, we decided for some mad reason that we'd take on the Wolverhampton Express and Star on their own territory, the Black Country.
Oh, yeah.
What,
you mean as a newspaper?
As a newspaper,
Yeah.
and the capital of the Black Country was Dudley.
Yeah.
So I was sent over to Dudley because I was then based in London for 6 weeks.
Well, as the sort of a heavy hitter.
Yeah, as the heavy hitter to lead the new bureau and all this kind of stuff. And I found a casino in Dudley. And, it was the most unlikely place in the world. The only place I'd ever seen casinos before was in London, Mayfair and Park Lane and all this. Suddenly found this casino. I thought, right. So anyway, I went in. I told them who I was, big newspaper honcho. And they said, yes, instant membership and all that. I used to go in there every night.
Did you?
Yeah.
And successfully or not?
Well, I didn't do a lot of gambling, but there was always a lot of very good-looking women in there.
Oh, yeah.
And so I used to...
Do you not think they were working?
No.
They probably were.
Well, some of them were croupiers, actually.
Really?
But
were you successful with them?
It was a woman-rich environment,
yes.
Put it that way. That's a line
did you
from
throw the
Top
dice
Gun.
and win on any occasions?
Yeah, I did, a few times. Do you know another time I found a casino, and it was the most bizarre. I was in Chile, and I'd just come out of the Atacama...
Well, only you could find a bloody casino in Chile.
I'm serious. Come out
in the Atacama Desert?
I'd just come out of the Atacama Desert to a place called San Jose, I think it was, or something.
San Jose?
San Jose. I think it was called San Jose, or something like that. And just, broken down old hotel and all that. And I walked around the corner of these dusty streets in San Jose.
Right.
And there was a flashing light.
Who were you with on this trip, by the way? Because you said it was a press trip, right?
It was a facility trip. There's a guy there called Rob Lowe, who was a brilliant boy, who...
Not the guy from West Wing?
No, not him, no. But he was a brilliant journalist. Unfortunately, he spoke Spanish because on the same trip we went to Buenos Aires, and when I had a row with a policeman in the middle of Buenos Aires...
Why do you always have rows with policemen everywhere you go?
I don't know. But I
You're like a sort of crime magnet.
I had a row with a Spanish police, an Argentinian policeman in the central square in Buenos Aires It was in Spanish because they speak Spanish.
Wasn't that called after Galtieri or something? Galtieri Square.
It was Galtieri Square, but he'd been beaten then, and this row was about the Falklands, because he insisted on calling them Malvinas, and I said, it's not the Malvinas, it's the Falklands, pal. And if Rob Lowe, who was a Cambridge graduate in languages and the features editor of The Observer, brilliant boy, a very nice man, if he hadn't spoken fluent Spanish, he told me later when we got back, I'm telling you, Mike, those policemen were so angry, you'd still be in jail now.
I know.
And I would have
But your
been.
entire life is riddled with those kind of stories. That, if only it wasn't for something or other, you would have been locked up in some hellhole.
Might have been.
For the rest of your life.
Might have been.
All over the world.
I could have been
everywhere you go.
I could have been locked up in Libya now, still.
Well,
because
does not occur
Staff
to you
Major
that
Jaloud wanted to hang me when I upset Colonel Gaddafi.
But I mean, does it not occur to you?
And look what happened to Gaddafi. He shouldn't have mixed it with the Portmeister.
Yes, true.
I'm still living.
You had a word with your naval intelligence pals.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, does it not occur to you that you are a magnet for this kind of thing, and that basically it might all be because of you that there's all this trouble wherever you go?
Not really.
No.
But let me tell you about the casino in the Atacama Desert.
Yeah.
The strangest thing was, like a normal roulette wheel and the size of it and the little ball that you put down. For some known reason, it's like the Land of Giants. The wheel. No, it was. The wheel was the size of our desk here. And just to explain to our millions of listeners, this desk, I would say, in circumference must be 50 feet.
Yeah, I suppose.
50 or 60 feet.
Yeah.
It's huge. It's about 4 times the size of a normal roulette table.
Yeah.
And the balls were the size of tennis. The ball that goes round.
No, it was just
that was the size of a tennis ball.
Really?
It was bizarre. And
maybe it was something to do with the latitude.
Maybe it was something to do with
the
altitude.
altitude.
I know, altitude, something like that. I don't know. But anyway, getting back to it. I'm glad you mentioned poker.
Yeah.
Because I came across something today. Because I've got a mate who plays, and I tell you, plays poker big style, is our very good mate here, Tony Cascarino.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, he goes to America.
Lots of people that we've known in the past. A guy that I
Teddy
knew,
Sheringham
who I think
plays.
you might not know from the Express. I think he was there after you did. A guy called Simon Young. He goes out to Vegas and plays in these professional poker tournaments.
Well, didn't you mention Mike McDonough from New York? Mike became a professional poker player, didn't
he? Did he? I think
he did.
I don't think so. Did he? I don't know.
He was off to Vegas all the time. And
he was a
Atlantic
recovering
City.
alcoholic. I know that.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Well, he's a very strange man, wasn't he? Well, not strange. A very nice man.
He was a very nice man, but
complicated life.
Without the drink, he didn't know what to do with himself.
No.
That was literally, the end for him when he couldn't drink anymore.
Him and his best mate always, if they had a good night, if they ended up punching each other's faces in, didn't they? Because that's what they used to do in Costello's, have her out.
Yeah.
But the point of my story is that now apparently there's a parliamentary commission going on to find out whether or not poker should be redefined as a game of skill rather than chance. And if it is, then people who say, I won the $1 million jackpot and will now be taxed on it at 40%. Because if it's skill, it means it's something you're working out and earning.
Oh, really?
Unlike the lottery, which is pure chance. Because when the balls come out of the machine in the lottery, number 4, number 11...
So some financial whiz in the government has worked out they could get some money out of this. Well, partly because, presumably, I mean, the poker business, the online poker business has now become one of the fastest growing leisure businesses for
that's what they're heading
word.
for. They're heading for profits in the online poker industry. Yeah, definitely.
Because, I mean, they tax betting, don't they? Basically.
Not really.
I mean, they used to
There's
tax
no
bet.
horse betting tax anymore.
They took it off, didn't they? They used to tax it. So I remember you used to go to a betting shop and you'd always say pay the tax first when you put the bet down, so you wouldn't have to pay it on the winnings.
A lot of fools never paid the tax on the bet. They paid it on the winnings, so it was 10%.
Yeah.
So, if you're having a £10 bet and you paid £11, you covered it. But if your £10 bet brought you back £500, you have to pay 50 quid.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I mean. They'd always say, do you want to pay the tax when you laid the bet? A couple of tweets to read out to you. Here's one from World Travel. He says, Porky would have been a fine extra on One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. No acting experience required as an inmate. And here's one from Roy, who says, gasoline is a byproduct of distilling kerosene. It wasn't discovered until the late 1880s.
I said that, 1870.
Yeah, well, he doesn't seem to think
but you've got to remember, the Native Americans found things like decades, if not hundreds of years before the white invaders did.
Really?
Seriously. Yeah, quite seriously. They found gold, they found coal. Why do you think the Indians were so protective of the Black Hills of Dakota?
Yeah.
Because they were full of coal. And they didn't want the white man, the striped leg, to come along and nick it all.
Now, here's one from Roy, who lives in the southwest of America,
Right.
Nevada to be precise.
Oh,
He
Nevada.
says, come to Reno and play Texas Hold'em at the Cal Nava, $20 buy-in 3 times a day. I'm sure you could do some stand-up to fund the trip.
Yeah, good
Do you want to
idea.
go to Vegas or do you want to go to Reno, Nevada?
I've played the casinos in Vegas and
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Atlantic City.
Yes.
Atlantic City I like. I like the boardwalk and all that, you know.
Yeah, Atlantic City. The
Yeah.
guys behind the glass have a regular poker game, they're telling me.
Oh, really?
It's not quite as glamorous as Las Vegas, though.
Yeah, no. I played poker once with a guy in the Conservative Club in Epsom. And
The Conservative Club in
the
Epsom.
Conservative Club in Epsom, yeah. No. And it was
What a dreary life you must lead.
No. It was on the day of the Epsom Derby.
Seen the time, by the
Yeah,
way?
hang on. Day of the Epsom
No,
Derby.
it's like really late.
My pockets were bulging with money because I'd had a Commander-in-Chief had won, and I had loads of money on him. It was brilliant and all that. And we were playing blind brag.
Yeah.
And I just felt lucky. Bunged it all in, £1,000.
Yeah.
Won.
Yeah.
And the bloke sitting opposite to me couldn't pay, so I made him take his suit off, and I took his suit home. I did, seriously.
Look into the light. This is Talk Sport. More coming up from the two mics.
We ride a bikes in the summer heat, hunting corners in County Creek. We hit the hay barn to play hide and seek. Santa Rosa.
Now, they told me this is by a guy called Pete Stringfellow.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, that's
no
interesting,
relation
that.
to Peter Stringfellow.
No, that's interesting, that, because I tell you what, I think Peter Stringfellow's a great guy.
Do you?
I do. I love his approach to life. And,
That doesn't surprise me.
no, I do love his approach to life. But I'd actually say now that I've found out something about Peter which I disagree with.
Is that right?
And that is that he's planning a second child with his new wife at the age of 74.
And how old's his wife?
She's 37 years younger than him, so she's about half his age.
Right.
And
So she's not that young then either.
no, not that young, but I mean, loads of women have children in 30s these days, and even in their early 40s.
Well, they do.
But he actually says...
But it's more risky, though.
I saw him talking about it, and he actually said, look, he said, I've got another good 10 years in me, so I'll be able to, ground the child in, the ways of the world and all that
Yeah.
before I shuffle off this mortal coil. But
Yeah, but he won't be able to play football with him. He's 15, will he?
No, exactly. And you won't see him go to university and
No.
all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I do think that's a bit mad. But get away from all that. Peter Stringfellow's a terrific guy. Do you know where I first met Peter Stringfellow? You won't believe this.
I might believe it. Tell me.
When I was I was 17 when I passed my driving licence.
Yeah.
Then you start borrowing your dad's car, don't you, and all that. Except my
Well, I
father,
don't know.
My father was very... What do you mean?
Well,
you
my
don't know?
dad didn't have a car.
Well, your mother had a car.
She had a
didn't
car. No, I didn't learn to drive until I was 23.
Good God,
I
what
didn't
an
need to
idiot.
because I lived in
What a
London.
complete
No, I lived in
idiot.
London, which has a very, very
What are
rich...
the joys of getting out on the,
No,
the
because
high
I didn't
road?
live in the sticks.
Yeah,
There was plenty to do for
not
me in the
living
middle
the
of...
sticks.
You
Listen,
lived in
from
the
where
sticks.
from
You
where
lived in some suburban hellhole.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
From where you lived, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you could have been in Hertfordshire.
I didn't want to be in Hertfordshire.
Heading north.
I didn't want to be in Hertfordshire. I was 17.
To go out on a picnic with your girlfriend
No, I
near a
didn't-
river,
no,
Babbling Brook.
No, I lived 5 minutes walk from Hampstead Heath,
Yeah.
where I could take my girlfriend for a picnic.
Well, that's
Thanks
not
very much.
But anyway,
And some very nice pubs.
So 17 when I passed the driving test, then you start buying another. Except my father was terribly nervous about lending me his
I'm
car.
not surprised,
He
given
thought
your
I'd-
record.
Yeah, well, that's
I
true.
mean, this was a few years before you wrote off the company car by
Yeah, it was
driving over
actually,
a
yeah.
roundabout.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
And then pretending you hadn't done it.
Yeah, well, I said it was a slight... I said got a punctured tyre. In
Well,
fact, it had-
presumably
it
you,
broke all
might,
the...
you might have also been worried that you would use it in some criminal enterprise.
broke all the suspension. But anyway, so I impressed this young lady by taking her out in my father's car.
Yeah.
Vauxhall Cavalier, actually. Brilliant
Oh,
car.
God,
Oh,
really?
yeah, it's a beautiful car, yeah.
I thought they were quite modern Vauxhalls. You didn't have those around the time you were a
No,
boy,
they did.
did
No, they did. They
Really?
did. Yeah. They just about the time it replaced
sure?
the Vauxhall Victor. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But anyway, so we went to Manchester and we went to the Millionaires Club. Proprietor Peter Stringfellow.
What's the Millionaires Club?
It was called the Millionaires Club
Where?
in Manchester.
Oh, right. Well, I've never been to Manchester in any meaningful way.
And because I was a big shot journalist working for the Chester Chronicle, I'd radioed ahead.
He must have been impressed with you.
I'd radioed ahead, so to speak,
Yeah.
to say that, and he's been media savvy all his life,
Yeah.
Peter Stringfellow.
Hey, by the way, just to interrupt you for 1 second, have you seen that Lewis Hamilton's having car problems?
No, is
Ever
he?
since you've said that he's going to walk
Oh,
this
yeah,
one,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because I've got a text here from someone just who came in, Sue from Tunbridge
Right.
sent this in just before we
Right.
got the news about his engine.
Right.
And it says, Mike, it looks like the Oompa Loompa you've got there next to you has put the kiss of death on Lewis Hamilton.
So
You've
it's
done it. The Porky Jinx has struck again.
So the curse of Porky's in Hamilton.
So Hamilton's got the best car in the world, but ever since you said he's going to win this hands down, the car's broken down.
Oh dear. Well, that's a bit of a disappointment.
It
Well,
is, isn't it?
Hope he gets his act back together. Have
Yeah.
you ever met Lewis Hamilton?
No.
He's an elfish figure.
What, small, you mean?
Yeah, it's like a Mark Bolan figure.
Yeah.
But you see, the thing is...
Well, is he taller than you or smaller than you?
No, he's shorter than me.
Is he?
Yeah, and slighter than me.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's almost... they almost apply the rules of the jockey relationship to a horse these days, with these cars. Because the smaller you are, the better able you are to fit into a Formula 1 racing car.
Yeah.
And you've got less weight.
It's like
and
a
all
jockey
that kind of
type
stuff.
scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just said that to you. We're not listening.
Yeah.
I said they applied the rules of the jockey relationship to a horse.
That's what I just said.
And then just repeated it.
No, that's what I just said to you.
Anyway, I'll tell you
I
about
said it
Peter
to you
Stringfellow.
first.
So I met Peter Stringfellow then for the first time. Now, a few years later, of course, my career had moved on, but so had Peter's ambitions. And he suddenly pitches up in Leicester Square, Stringfellows. Do you know the one thing I've never been able to work out? When a chap arrives from Manchester, successful northern... club owner and all that kind of stuff, where, the clubs are legendary. That's where a lot of comedians made their names, all that kind of stuff. But Peter's was a nightclub, it was a disco and all that. Don't you think that by the time he tipped up in Leicester Square, in London, don't you think that the first visit he would have got would have been from, like, the Cray twins or something like that?
Well, I think the thing is, when you're in that business, it's a sort of, people in all sorts of parts of the world who are in the same business. And I think once you've kind of squared all that stuff off, without putting too fine a point on it, then you're welcomed into the coterie, and then you're fine.
But you would have to square it off, wouldn't you?
I think you probably might have to, especially in those days.
Yeah, exactly.
Not
you couldn't
so much
just
now.
open up in Leicester Square and say, right, I'm competing with all these other nightclubs who must have been paying, presumably, some sort of association fee to those involved.
Well, I mean, I think that's a kind of romantic notion. I think it certainly was the case, maybe in the 70s. I don't know if it still is now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit like newspaper business. Where if you're in the business in the country,
you're probably right.
You're kind of. I mean, I imagine some of the London guys would have owned a couple of the Manchester places as well.
Yeah, but anyway,
he opened his place in Upper St Martin's Lane, didn't he?
Was that it?
Yeah.
Because a few years afterwards, he opened the second one, didn't he? Which was called something else. Boy George used to go in there all the time.
Well, the one I used to go to was in Upper St Martin's Lane in London.
Stringfellows.
But when it was just a regular nightclub, it wasn't like a lap dancing club.
No, it's a lap dancing club now. Yeah,
now it is, but it wasn't in the first place.
But this is what I'm saying. It was a regular nightclub, right? Now, when he opened it, he had a huge sort of, press party. He was very, very media savvy.
He was.
And from day one, he said, listen, boys, you boys are welcome all the time.
Yeah.
And I tell you who I used to go there with night after night after night. It was Craig Mackenzie, right?
Yeah.
Craig was a big nightclub usually in those days, you know what I mean?
Disco Craig.
Yeah, we'd go in there, and it was always the same. All the doormen knew us. Yeah, Mr. Parry, come in. We used to go straight to the restaurant, have a wonderful meal, as much wine as you wanted, champagne if you like, drinks, and we never paid a penny for anything.
Doesn't surprise me.
No, he didn't. And do you know what? He's very savvy, because I had a mate who moved from the Express to the Financial Times.
Yeah.
And Peter lauded him.
It's not a very well-worn route.
No, it's not. It's not. But Peter lauded him even more than he did the tabloids, because he was so business savvy.
Yeah.
He used to draw this boy into conversation, sit down with him, pick his brains on. You know what I mean? He was very, very.
He's a very smart
savvy.
guy.
And by the way, he wore so well. I remember Peter when he was 55 or 60, and he looked like he was 40.
Yeah.
And he drunk voluminously. He would tell me on an average night, because he would always be around the club and all that, he might have 12 large vodka and tonics and 2 bottles of wine. And he still wouldn't go to bed until 4 or 5 in the morning, and he'd still be back around at 10 o'clock that morning doing the invoices from last night, the receipts and all that. He's an amazing man.
Did I ever tell you about my
guy.
sort of introduction to the nightclub scene in London?
Tell me.
Well, I used to work, as you'd probably know, for this Hungarian baker when I was a teenager. My
course.
first job.
Huge job.
Was as like a 13, 14-year-old. Started out picking strawberries.
The Hungarian bakery for now makes the loaf.
That's not how they speak in Hungary.
Yeah.
Anyway, this guy had come from Hungary in 1956 during the revolution and escaped literally with nothing but his recipe books. He'd come to London and
good job he got his recipe books.
Yeah, and he was a fantastic sort of patisserie merchant, and he had about 4 jobs, worked all over the place until he could buy his own shop in Hampstead called Louis' Patisserie, and he became a millionaire overnight. Panorama did a show about him, and he had a blue Rolls Royce with the sort of gold
and you worked for this guy?
And I worked for him, and he more or less adopted me as a son. When I went to university, he said, "Are you sure you want to go to university?"
Should have had a driving licence. You could have borrowed his Rolls Royce.
I could have done, yeah. He said, "If you don't want to go to university, stay with me in the shop, and
I'll make you big."
He says, I will leave everything to you." He had no kids, and I was like his son to him. Anyway, he used to take me and my sister when she was 16, I was 14, right?
Yeah.
And my parents were cool with it because they said, "Look, he's going to look after you." And he used to take me to the Gaslight. He used to take me to the Latin Quarter, which were 2 massive old-fashioned nightclubs in the centre of the West End.
When
I was 14.
You were drinking alcohol?
Yeah, and I remember sitting drinking.
Sounds like a great life for a 14-year-old.
Yeah. I sat in front of this drag queen
Right.
who was at the Latin Quarter,
Right.
Who started pointing at me because I'd ordered a tequila sunrise, which had all sorts of fruit
Excellent.
and
Love
things
'em.
coming out
Love
of
'em.
it. And I was in the midst of this world, and I just thought, this is amazing.
It is, yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. We'd stay out until about 3 in the morning, and his driver would drop us back in the roller,
Yeah.
back to the house in Hampstead.
Yeah.
And we'd wake up in the morning, and I mean, obviously not a school night, but it was absolutely incredible.
Sounds fantastic.
That's why I got a great taste for the finer things of life.
Oh, yeah, and me too. I loved Stringfellows. It was great. But then, unfortunately, the whole nightclub business changed. I got a bit older.
Yeah.
And I went in one time, and I couldn't believe it. It had turned into a lap dancing
Yeah,
club.
and I don't want to go there.
And it was pole dancing and
Yeah.
all that. And do you know what? I mean, you know, you can make whatever jokes you want about me and having relationships with married women and all that, but the idea of stuffing £20 notes into a pair of girls' knickers as she's spinning round a pole, I'm afraid it was something that
No, I agree with
did
you
not
on that.
appeal to me.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Apart from that time you went to watch the England game in one, of course, but that's another
I
story.
did not do
Yes,
that.
you
I was
did.
in Soho.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch a game, and the only establishment we could find that had a television happened to be a lap dancing club, but I never got further than the foyer where the television was placed.
Is that a euphemism for something?
No, I'm telling you.
Look
telling
into
you.
the light.
You're always besmirching my character.
You haven't been further than the foyer for many a year.
You are.
This is Talk Sport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time with the two mics. This
What's
is
that?
this is a song called "I'm in Love with Margaret Thatcher" by the Not Sensibles.
Oh, right, okay,
Because
yeah.
of course you did used to be in love with Margaret Thatcher.
No, now you see,
I
again,
mean politically.
what
I don't
a
mean
complete falsehood.
I mean politically. You were a Thatcherite, weren't you? Yes, you were.
well-
you did all the things that she wanted people to do.
Hang on.
Pulled yourself up your bootstraps. You bought a load of property. You bettered yourself. You know, you did all those things. That's a Thatcherite.
I will admit I was a Thatcherite, but as I worked alongside her for about 13 years, you know, the whole 30... I mean, I remember the night she got voted in.
Yeah, well,
I
never
worked
mind that.
for the
because
Birmingham Mail
we
and all
haven't-
that.
We haven't got
you know?
time for all that.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
now,
What have we got time for?
Because we've got time for the Porky
Well,
quiz.
get on with it,
This
then.
is the subject matter that you have chosen. It's politics in Britain from 1975 to the present day.
That's it.
Now, as ever, we have some noises for you to listen out for. If you get one correct,
Yes.
you will hear this.
The right honourable gentleman, with all due respect, is a blundering amateur.
And if you get one wrong, you will hear this.
If you'd kept your mouth shut, we might have thought you were clever.
And if you complain about the answer, you'll hear this.
Oh, don't be such a sore loser, Mr. Whippy.
That sounds like the Bastard.
Yes, it does, doesn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Now, question number one. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Who was Chancellor of the Exchequer in 1985?
In 1985, the Chancellor of the Exchequer was, in my view, Nigel Lawson.
Correct.
The right honourable gentleman, with all due respect, is a blundering amateur.
Very well done. Question number two. When did Margaret Thatcher become leader of the Conservative Party?
She became leader of the Conservative Party in... she won her first election in 1979, so she became leader of the Conservative Party in 1975.
Correct.
The right honourable gentleman, with all due respect,
Very good
is a
guess, that. I thought you were going to say
blundering
four.
No, it wasn't, because it was a year after the previous election.
Okay, question number
When Ted
three.
Heath was voted out.
Now, these are all the period of time when your brain was still working, so you might get this one as well. Question number three. Which MP caused the House of Commons to be suspended after threatening another MP with a ceremonial mace in 1976?
Michael Heseltine.
Correct.
The right honourable gentleman, with all due respect, is
3
a
out of 3.
blundering
Right,
amateur.
now,
Blimey.
now do you
We could be on a record now.
Now, don't you start bending the questions.
Look, I've
now.
got the questions here. They're
Yeah.
all written down. The
Yeah.
answers are here. I can't
Yeah.
change them. Question number 4.
Yes.
Have a listen to this.
A day like today, I mean, it's not a day for sort of sound bites, really. But I feel the hand of history upon our shoulder.
Now, you'll recognise that, of course, as
Yeah.
Tony Blair.
Yeah.
What was he talking about?
I think he was talking about the death of Diana, Princess of Wales.
If you'd
Incorrect.
kept your mouth shut, we might have thought you were clever.
Good guess, though. He was talking about
It was the agreement, the
Good Friday
Agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was close enough. Yeah. When he called her the People's Princess,
Yeah.
that was his other. It was a very similar thing, though.
Yeah.
Question number 5. Which foreign secretary helped negotiate the fall of the Berlin Wall?
The fall of the Berlin Wall. Foreign Secretary. Do you know what? I think it might have been John Major.
Correct.
Right honourable gentlemen, with all due respect, is a
Blimey.
blundering amateur.
4 out of 5.
It should have been 5 out of 5 because I should have thought a little bit more
Yes.
about the Good Friday Agreement.
Question number 6. Who is the first UKIP MP in Parliament?
God.
I've got a feeling we had this question in another quiz, you know.
No, I don't think we did, and he's a turncoat Tory, so it's not Nigel Farage who's the leader of UKIP. I'm afraid I don't know.
If you'd kept your mouth shut, we might have thought you were clever.
Douglas Carswell.
Douglas Carswell, that's right.
Who won Clacton from the Tories in October 2014.
I'll give you that one.
Okay.
Give you that one.
Question, well, it's a perfectly fair question.
Yeah.
Question number 7.
Yeah.
What year did the Westland helicopter scandal engulf the Tories?
Well, Michael Heseltine was the prime mover in that as well.
He was.
And he walked out down Downing Street. That's the start of the end for Mrs. Thatcher. And she went in 79, 80... She went in 92. So I would say the Westland helicopter scandal, I think it was 1990.
Incorrect.
If you'd kept your mouth shut, we might have
85,
thought you were
86
clever.
it was.
85, 86. Is
But
that
not
early?
bad, not bad. Question number 8. When was Gordon Brown elected Prime Minister?
Gordon Brown was never elected Prime Minister.
Correct.
Right honourable gentlemen, with all due respect, is a blundering amateur.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 8 so far. You're getting close to the record, which was, of course, the chocolate quiz.
Yeah.
Very important on the last 2 now. Question number 9, up to date. Which constituency is represented by the current Defence Secretary?
Philip Hammond, Defence Secretary. I think it's...
What's his constituency?
Constituency is... I think it's Richmond, not in Yorkshire, Richmond in London.
South-West London.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
If you'd kept your mouth shut, we might have thought you were clever.
It's Philip Hammond's moved on, actually. It's now Michael Fallon.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
To be honest, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah.
It's Sevenoaks.
Sevenoaks,
So,
yeah. He was
that's,
somewhere around there.
Incorrect. Now, incredibly,
Yeah.
you seem to have given up on the idea that these questions are all gerrymandered. And
No,
you're
no,
actually
no,
not complaining about any of them.
No, I should have got the Good Friday
Yeah,
one.
but you're disappointed with yourself, though.
I am.
All right, finally, to see whether you can break your all-time record
Yeah.
of 5.5 out of 10,
Yeah.
because you've got 5 already,
Yeah.
can you make it 6 out of 10? How many MSPs are there in Holyrood?
MSPs, member of the Scottish Parliament in Holyrood. I will guess at, because I'm not a student of Scottish politics, and I did say English history from
No,
1975.
you said British politics.
No, I think
You
I
said
said
British
I think
politics.
I said English.
You said British politics. We can find you the clip if you wish.
Well, let me tell you this: Holyrood wasn't around in 1975 anyway.
You said 1975 to the present
Yeah,
day.
but you say you brought this one in and from left wing. Yes,
1975
you
to the
have
present day.
to try and
Can we have
screw
the,
my
Can we
chances.
have the noise?
He's
please?
such a sore loser, Mr.
Try and screw my
Whippy.
chances of getting a record score. I'm going to say.
You have no idea, do you?
I'm say 43.
If you kept your
43.
mouth shut, we might have thought you were clever.
There are 73 elected MSPs
I can't believe that.
on the first past the post system.
You're joking.
Hang on. And there are a further 56 elected on proportional representation, making a total of 129.
What are you telling me? We pay for 129
That's correct.
deadbeat politicians.
That's correct.
On top of those who represent Scotland in Westminster.
That's right.
Well,
On top, don't forget, also on top of those who represent them in the European Parliament.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scotland are going to bankrupt us. There's so many levels of politicians up there. I mean, this Sturgeon woman, you know, I think she's more dangerous. She's more dangerous than, in my view, Leonid Brezhnev was when he was leader of the
Well,
USSR.
do you remember they had a budget for the building which was £40 million,
And it
right?
was 400
and it
million
was
in the end.
400 million.
Yeah,
And amongst one of the things that they got wrong,
Multiple of 10.
amongst one of the things that they got wrong was the size of the windows.
Yes.
And everything had to be custom made because it was a very unusual building.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful building inside, actually. I've been in there many times.
What a waste of space.
I was always invited in there by
Yeah,
these characters.
yeah.
And the windows arrived and they didn't fit the holes.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No.
So they had to have them all redone.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely extraordinary. Anyway, all I can say to you is 5 out
Yeah.
of 10 is actually not bad, considering what you normally get. It's more than I predicted. I predicted 3 out of 10.
Yeah, but you
what
see,
I'd like to do, though, is
the
now
Michael
put an
Fallon
end.
question
put
was
an end.
designed to knacker me. And,
Well, you're supposed to be up to date
and
with-
disorientate me.
You're supposed to be up to date with the current cabinet.
And
I mean,
you-
I didn't ask you to name the cabinet, did I?
Yeah. Well, I could have done, but there you go. Yeah.
Anyway, I'd like to say now you can officially put an end to all of this useless whining that you do
What?
for days on end
No,
after
no.
every Friday show
No.
when you claim that you're
I should have
you've
got
been
6.
gerrymandered.
I knew it was the Good Friday Agreement. agreement, not Diana, Princess
Well,
of
I
Wales.
can't, I'm not responsible.
And
Such a sore loser, Mr. Whippy.
I'm going to put my hair shirt on and whip myself and then pour petrol in the wounds because that's how badly I've failed myself.
Well, you've probably got
I'm
some
disgraced disgusted with myself. I'm
Good.
a failure, loser.
Well, it's better than...
It's not good for me.
It's better than being disgusted with me. He is Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham. We are the two. Gary the Milky, and this is bringing
Gary
back...
the Milky, I love Milkies.
Bringing back a few
Milkman,
memories.
my favourite. There's not many around, you know.
No, there's not, but this is bringing back memories to me. He says, hi, Mike. He says, I've just delivered cream to Louis of Hampstead, because we used to buy
Good
cream
God.
in these great big cardboard vats.
Yeah.
You know, inside, they'd be inside sort of plastic.
Sure.
Because he used to use loads and loads of whipped cream. He said he used to love watching him pulling up in his blue and gold roller. A very generous man. Always gave me loads of cakes and mince pies at Christmas.
Really?
Isn't that nice?
Nice. Well, nice
Amazing
memory.
guy.
I used to drive the baker's van, right?
Yeah.
Because
this is another job you never told us about.
Well, I'll tell you what it was. It was in between jobs, and I was waiting to go off. It was after I left university, I decided I would become a journalist. I then had a period of about 3 or 4 months before I went on a training course in Newcastle.
Well, you actually were trained to be a journalist.
NCTJ training course at the Editorial Training Centre in Newcastle.
With a side order of hospitality.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, all that kind of stuff. But I got a job... first of all, driving the baker's van for a local... Funny enough, because you mentioned bakers earlier, I should have sparked on it then. But what we used to do is we used to meet in a car park in the Wirral somewhere because my round was all the way up and down the Wirral and all that kind of stuff. And, like, for instance...
When you say we, who do you mean?
Well, me and my mate, because I had a mate in the van as well, you know.
Well, why didn't you just drive the van on your own?
Well, because you had to deliver trays of cakes and all that sort of thing.
Was your mate employed by the bakery?
Yeah,
as well?
he was,
okay.
yeah,
It wasn't
sorry.
just somebody you co-opted?
No, he was a junior to me. I mean, I was
Of course, you were in charge.
Yeah, I was in charge. I was only about 18, but I was in charge. This guy was about 16. He used to cut all the cakes and things into, you know, banqueting suites and all that kind of stuff. But we used to meet in this car park, and the guy who drove the beer wagon was there, and the guy who drove the pop wagon was there, and the man who drove...
Pop wagon?
Yeah, you know, like Corona Pop.
Oh, pop. I thought you said pot.
No, pop.
I didn't realise there was a pot wagon.
No, there isn't a pop wagon. And what we used to do is, you know, I would exchange a tray of cakes for a case of beer, and then we'd exchange...
So more kind of underhand, semi-criminal activity.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, well,
Stealing from the bakery.
No, it was bartering.
How did you explain that this stuff didn't then arrive at the place it was meant to be delivered to?
Well, damaged goods. Damaged goods and all this kind of stuff. You know.
Shyster you are, really, aren't you? Have you ever done anything straight? There's a phrase for people like you, which they used to say in Ireland a lot when I was over there. They'd say you couldn't lie straight in bed.
Couldn't lie straight in bed? That's a bit harsh. No,
I mean, you literally are crooked, aren't you?
It wasn't. It was commercial opportunism. That's what I call it.
It's called stealing.
No, commercial opportunism. And there was another guy who drove... What did he drive? He drove a wagon which supplied...
So what did you? I mean, you couldn't presumably go back to the bakery.
Yeah, the milkman. That's right. It was the wholesale milk wagon.
But you couldn't go back to the bakery with a load of milk and beer. Would you have to drop it off, presumably?
Yeah, you just call home and drop it all off at home.
Unbelievable.
On the way home.
Absolutely
that wasn't a problem at all.
Now listen to this.
In fact, I used to take all the beer and drinks to my girlfriend's place, and we used to have huge parties in her flat. Yeah.
You see, it's incredible to me that you ever became a proper journalist. Here's one from an Arsenal fan, Sid, in West Drayton. He says, "Hi, Mike." He says, "How the heck did Porky have time to be a journalist when he was too busy getting drunk, hanging around with shady characters, being a full-time ladies' man, and hanging around with strippers in dodgy nightclubs? P.S. Can you get Porky to say Chelsea will win the league because, of course, the jinx will then kick in?"
Yeah, well, Chelsea will win the league. I mean, that's obvious. But, I mean, hang on. Which shady characters is he talking about? Peter Stringfellow's not a shady character.
Well, you were suggesting that he would have to have been involved in some way in setting up his London operation with some shady characters.
No, what I said was I think he's an extremely clever man to have been able to move into that and sort those problems out, which I'm sure he did without any elements of criminality being involved. The other thing, by the way, that I got lucky at when I was about 16 was I had one elder sister and one younger sister. And they took holiday jobs as well.
Yeah.
And the elder sister...
So did you manage to get hold of whatever they were dealing in?
Well, I was about to tell you. My elder sister got a job as a barmaid in our favourite pub in Chester called the King's Head in Lower Bridge Street.
Is that the one that you later wrecked when you were in charge of it?
No.
No,
that was in Nottingham. No, that was in Nottingham. That was in Nottingham when I was a student. No. Right. And so she must have just been 18, so I must have been 17. There's only a year between us. And then my younger sister, Jill, got a job in a Wimpy bar when she was 16.
Yeah.
And, you know, they served Wimpy hamburgers before McDonald's had ever come to this country. Nobody ever heard of McDonald's. Wimpy was the place, you know, on the high street.
Yeah.
So what I used to do was, I used to go into the King's Head in Lower Bridge Street, have about 8 pints of beer, you know, even though I was only sort of 17 or something.
Yeah.
I used to drink lager and lime in those days, actually. 8 pints of lager and lime.
Yeah.
And I didn't pay for any of them because my sister just flashed them over the bar to me, you see what I mean? In fact, actually, I made money out of it because I used to take money from my friends and get them free beer as well, but I didn't give it to my sister.
It's
I put it in my pocket.
an incredible kind of litany of stuff,
terrible,
this, isn't
terrible.
it?
But then, because when you drink 8 pints of lager and lime, you feel quite hungry, you know. I used to go off to the Wimpy bar and get 2 quarter-pounder Wimpies with chips.
Right.
I didn't pay for that either.
Why didn't you pay? Because your sister was in there.
Because my younger sister worked in there.
Incredible. The first McDonald's, funnily enough, opened up in Swiss Cottage in London. I remember because it was about 1973 or 4.
Yeah.
And because my sister and I used to go there. But one of the great things about working for this place, Louis, in Hampstead, because Hampstead was quite a sort of villagey type place.
Yeah, I know.
And all the guys who ran restaurants would come to him for bread, and they'd get cakes and all that.
Yeah.
So we used to go to all the restaurants and eat for nothing.
Really?
I mean, which was brilliant.
Well, that's the same thing.
No,
it's exactly the same
it's
thing.
not the same thing because we were invited to do that by the people who had a conversation with the boss.
Yes.
So the boss knew about it. It wasn't like we were stealing from anybody else.
See, the story you've just told, Mike, illustrates the difference between the life of glamour that I've led and the life of drudgery that you've led.
What, driving a baker's van?
No. You've just said you went to the opening of the first McDonald's.
No, I didn't go to the opening of it.
All right, well, you used to visit.
We're talking about the opening of McDonald's.
Hang on. You used to visit the first McDonald's in this country, right? The first McDonald's in this country.
I went to it because it was
Cottage.
quite an exciting thing.
Yeah, but you see, how does that compare in the Glamour Stakes?
Yeah.
To me being invited to the opening of the first McDonald's in Russia, in Red Square, next to the Kremlin. The power brokers of the USSR were all in there on a daily basis.
I don't care.
And I was an honoured guest.
Yeah,
how about that?
Because I don't care about that. Because I don't care about that. Because my life does not revolve around showing outsiders who I care nothing about how important I am by going, look, I've been invited to this. Look, I'm arriving at Cheltenham by helicopter.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
I drive a Jaguar. Look how successful I am.
I think that's
because it hasn't made any difference to your miserable life. All it's done is given you a few ticks in a few boxes and made you feel better about yourself.
Listen, how's your hearing?
My hearing?
Yeah.
Fine.
Now, did you ever go to rock concerts
I
and all
used
that?
to go all the time.
Chalk Farm?
Yeah, in fact, the Roundhouse?
Roundhouse?
Yeah, in fact, I went to the Roundhouse only last year to see Peter Frampton.
Right, OK. Because a new study has discovered that people, perhaps a generation older than you, are all going clinically deaf.
Well, Pete Townshend's deaf, isn't he?
Pete Townshend's deaf. All these rock stars are deaf. Do you know why? They used to stand next to the speakers.
It's funny, they stood in front of those Marshall amps for years, didn't they?
That's right.
Yeah.
But what they said was, and I must have missed this by about a generation, you know, so that in the 60s...
But you probably didn't really go to concerts.
No,
you
I
went
didn't
to
go
more
to concerts.
discos,
No.
didn't you?
Yeah.
Well, have you ever
to
seen a
discos.
live band?
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Which one?
Sir Elton John at Wembley.
Is that the only one you've ever been to?
With the Beach Boys.
Yeah. Oh,
Mike
yeah, you talked
Love.
about that.
Mike
Yeah, but
Love.
did you buy tickets for that?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah.
Did you? Well,
Yeah,
why
of
did
course
you
I
go
did,
to only one of those and no others?
Well, I'm not that much into live groups.
Okay.
So
why did you go then?
Well, I went with my mate. It was a day out at Wembley.
Okay.
We were students in Nottingham, funny enough. We went down to London and sat on the Wembley pitch and watched it all.
Yeah.
It
See,
was
I saw the Rolling Stones at Wembley and I saw the Who at Wembley.
I couldn't stand seeing the Rolling Stones live. They don't sound like the Rolling Stones. They sound like some amateur
How do you know
group.
that if you've never seen them live?
Well, because I have seen recordings of their live shows.
I see.
And the studio version of Rolling Stones songs is so immaculately well produced that when you see them live, it's like they're missing
But you
6
see,
guitars.
It's like your
Do you know
last
what I mean?
comparison of the two of us. That, to me, it emboldens the difference between you and I, in that you are sort of basically lipstick and bubblegum type music fan, whereas I prefer proper music. I prefer to go and see proper live bands.
The only guy I've ever listened to live who sounded like the record was Paul McCartney, who I saw at the O2.
Yeah,
with,
but did you
Andy
see him at the
Townsend.
closing of the Olympics? He was awful, wasn't he?
I don't know, didn't see that. Didn't see that.
You didn't see the closing ceremony of the Olympics?
The minute I saw Russell Brand singing a John Lennon song, I Am the Walrus, I switched off. What an insult to the memory of John Lennon.
No.
A complete...
You mentioned him again.
I know, well, I'm
got
going
a
to mention
siren for John Lennon.
What an insult. But anyway, look, getting back to your ears and all that.
Yeah.
Tinnitus.
Is it not dangerous, by the way, listening to headphones like we do?
Well, I'm about to say to you, your kids, right, you've got 2 boys who will...
Well, 3, actually.
You get 3, but you've got 2 young boys
Yeah.
who in a few years' time will be walking around with their headphones on all the time, listening to music and whatever. And you've got to discipline them because young kids are going deaf with tinnitus. And tinnitus, by the way, used to be, believe it or not, in the 60s, this is the research I've read, you used to boast, I can't hear anything. Because if you said that, it meant you'd been to some concert the night before where the music was so loud.
I mean, I remember waking up in the mornings. I used to go to a lot of concerts. I went to see people like Deep Purple. I went to see Uriah Heep. I went to see Status Quo. I went to see Nazareth. I mean, there was a period of my life.
Had to finish with my woman 'cause she couldn't read my mind.
Who's that?
Deep Purple.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, hang on. Which group was Ozzy Osbourne in?
He was in Black Sabbath.
Oh, Black Sabbath. That was Black Sabbath. Then.
I didn't see them.
That was closer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, anyway, the point about Deep Purple and the noise of Led Zeppelin as well, who I saw, who actually were at the time when they were playing live, they were measured at more decibels than a Boeing 747 jet
Unbelievable.
engine. And so you would wake up. Well, you would wake up in the morning with your ears literally still buzzing.
Right. Well, this is what this report says, and what's happened is that people like that, so that you might have it coming, will get tinnitus. Tinnitus affects 1 in 10 adults, right, from that era.
You were alleging that I had tinnitus the other night,
yeah,
weren't you?
I was, because I'd read the report that day. Now, there's a guy here, one example of a man called Paul, now 56, experiences whining noises in his ears, loud in his right ear, and it all comes from the fact that when he was growing up, he was a big fan of a group called Captain Sensible.
Oh, yeah, I remember Captain Sensible.
Captain Sensible?
Well, that was the punk days. That was even a bit after.
Yeah, but Captain Sensible, believe it or not...
Captain Sensible was in The Damned.
No, he was...
He was in the He was in The Damned.
Apparently, according to the report I read, he was the guy who did that ridiculous, silly little record about... it's not so bad, it's a nicer place. Oh, shut up in your face.
No, that was not Captain Sensible.
Happy Talk? It was Happy Talk. Happy, 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 happy talk.
Joe Dolce was Shut Up in Your Face. Nothing to do with Captain Sensible.
Well, Captain Sensible was Happy Talk.
Was in The Damned, wasn't he?
I don't know. But anyway, look, this guy...
The Damned were?
This guy who was using an example of how your ears get so badly damaged... A deafening screech of feedback so loud it physically knocked me several feet back. I ran off before the next song came out.
Well, he should have tried going to a Deep Purple concert.
Do you know what happened to me once? I went to a concert, right? And
you said you've only been to one concert.
No, this was in New York.
Right.
And it was with a girl I went with. And it wasn't...
not the New York Welcoming Committee.
No, it wasn't Jane. It was somebody else.
You're not supposed to give a name out.
No, I know. It was... I know who there was, actually. But...
What, is it somebody else you can't name?
Yes, it is really, yeah.
The identity must be protected.
Yes. Yeah. But it was so loud, it was really...
Do you remember who it was?
Yes, I do.
Well, who? No, I mean the band, not the woman.
Oh, the band. Yeah, I do. It was John Cougar Mellencamp.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right, okay.
Right.
But it was so...
Little Pink Houses.
Little Pink Houses and all that, yeah. Oh, ain't this
Don't
America?
sing it.
But anyway, point is...
Jack and Diane.
It got so loud... Yeah, Jack and Diane. It got so loud that she complained about the noise and she wanted to leave.
Right.
And I didn't want to leave.
Sure she just wanted to leave because she was with you?
No, it's so loud. So I said to her, look, don't worry, stuff bread in your ears. And I made it... because we were...
Where'd you get the bread from?
It was at a table type thing. It was one of those sort of places.
Oh, it was like one of those Toffs sort of charity
Yeah, it was, yeah, that's right, exactly, yeah.
So it wasn't a proper concert?
It was a proper concert.
As ever, concert with snobs?
No, it was at a big arena, you know what I mean, and all this.
So you were in some box or something, were you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah, box. It was a box, yeah. And
you're unbelievable, you really are.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it was the Gardens, in Madison Square Garden.
Madison Square Garden?
I'm sure it was, yeah, Madison Square Garden. And anyway, so I told her to stuff bread in her ear, right, to nullify
any
the sound.
particular kind of bread?
Well, yeah, it was white bread.
Was it grain?
Bread. But anyway, this is a rather tragic ending to it. She couldn't get the bread out of her ears, and we had to go to that hospital in, Midtown Manhattan. And
Bellevue.
Yeah, Bellevue.
That's where they used to take all the mental patients.
That's right, they did.
I'm surprised they didn't keep you in.
No, there were a few people there who had that terrible drinking complaint called the shakes or something.
Alcoholism.
But no,
they could have kept you in for that as well.
No, it was that, when you claim you can see rats coming out the wall and all that kind of stuff.
Delirium tremens,
something like that. Yeah, there were a few of them.
I think you've been followed around by a 9-foot hedgehog.
But
you never did tell us the hedgehog story. We'll have to save it for next week.
I'll save the hedgehog story for next week. But it's a great battle to save the hedgehog. But no, we had to...
So did they ask her how she managed to get the bread into her ears?
Yeah.
So you wedged it in there with your fingers?
No, I gave her the bread and she pushed it in her ears.
Yeah.
And I said, is that... She said, I can still hear it. So I said,
butter on it? If you put butter on it, you could have got it out, you see.
Of course
you should have thought ahead.
You idiot. I was trying to help her, wasn't I? But in the end...
So, presumably that wasn't a great night of romance then?
Well,
you end up waking up in the morning with blood coming from your ears because some doctors had to syringe them.
Well, it had one or two problems, but you have to get over these things.
Yeah, oh well, you'll have to tell me who it was later. That is the two mics, of course. There will be a podcast coming out. Thank you very much, Mr. Parry. Hopefully, over the course of the next few days, we might have some news on some live shows.
We certainly will.
But follow out the two mics and you'll find out everything you need to know there. Mike Parry 8 is the other Twitter account, of course. And you can find me at IROMG. Well done on the quiz, 5 out of 10. Almost makes you an expert on British politics from 1975 to the present day. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.
So he comes in, he sees this poor drunk, and he says, this guy giving me a problem, Mike. And I said, well, he just can't find his money. He said, right. So he grabbed it and went, bang! He knocked him right in the face. I'm not joking. And the drunk went, fell to the floor. But instead of dealing with it, Badger just walked off, got in his van and drove off. I nearly got arrested for beating up a prostitute.
If you love the Two Mics podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1am on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.